tell them.
Your water is right over there.
And they say, you can't convince a cow to move to the water, so move the water to the cows with the Keln Solar Livestock Watering System. With the Keln Solar Livestock Watering System, you can put your pump pretty much anywhere without the cost of hooking up to the grid. Learn more about the Keln Solar Livestock Watering System at kelnsolar.com. Keln Solar, we move water.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Sask Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sports, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936. 6262. The all-new Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Kindly respect the national anthems and the players that represent each country.
Oh, say, can you...
Bennett in the lineup for the first time. 2 seconds in, another one. Jake Gunsel scores! And the United States leads 3-1 with 1:19 to go.
I think it's going to be the game that's going to go down that changed hockey forever. And for a lot of people, it's the game that is still stuck in our mind. Saturday's 3-1 loss, Team USA beating Canada, Bell Center, Montreal, although there were 2 games played yesterday, almost inconsequential. And no matter what happens at this Four Nations Cup going forward, we may not know who or remember who ends up winning it all when all is said and done. It'll be what happened on Saturday as one of the most memorable events in hockey for a lot of us in our lifetime. Welcome to the Polar Vortex edition of the Sportscage for Tuesday, February 18th. It's Maz in for the vacationing Barney Shinkruk. He's away this week. It's cold. Extreme cold warning in effect for southern Saskatchewan. Minus 29 feels like minus 38 with the wind chill. Tonight, minus 39, but with the wind chill, minus 53. Tomorrow's high, minus 24, but a crazy wind chill. If we hold out hope, by Sunday, we're talking plus 4. Fingers crossed. Thanks for being part of the show today. It's brought to you by Sask Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. 2 games played yesterday. Canada played Finland. U.S. played Sweden. But I don't think anybody cared. Everybody still has Saturday on their mind and what went down at the Bell Center in Montreal. The booing of the anthems. 3 fights in 9 seconds. The Canadians going up 1-0. And then the Americans chipping away, tying the game at 1, going up at 2-1, and then finally with the empty netter 3-1 and the win. I got a little worried when the booing of the national anthem was going on, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're doing this. I thought to myself, we better win this hockey game. Like, we're pot committed as Canadians. All of those people in that hockey rink are setting the tone for all of the country. We're going to be judged on this. And social media was ferocious and downright nasty at times during the game and especially after the game. There's a lot of nicknames for Canadians I'd never heard before, but they're coming out now. It was a war. It was like watching Gladiator as the Romans entered the arena. You got the Kachuk brothers starting things off, and then JT Miller. And if you're Mitch Marner and you're sitting on the bench, are you wondering if this turns into a full-out bench-clearing brawl, am I going to be expected to go on the ice and drop my gloves and pretend to fight? And I'm in a contract year? One of the most memorable games in hockey that I think a lot of us, since the 2010 Olympics, there's been like a 15-year void of, I don't know, can you name something more memorable? I can't. There's been some good games, but nothing like that Olympic goal. Where now we've got this, and it's going to be etched in the memories for a lot of people for a long time. I tried yesterday. You can't watch a normal hockey game anymore. After what we saw on Saturday, Colson and Curtis, the double C's are here this week. It's a team effort. I don't know if we're going to be brawling at center ice with our team. We could. Colson and Curtis. Colson, we'll start with you. So Saturday night, give me the scene setter. Are you watching pre-national anthems just to see how all this is going to go down?
No, I wasn't. I had a family thing that night, and we didn't have the game on, so I didn't get to watch the start of it. Did watch the end of the game, though, and kind of how things went down there. And, yeah... It's one of those things where... Is it a game that will change hockey? Is this a memory that's going to be etched in people's minds for a long time, much like the Olympic gold medal goal back in 2010? I agree that we haven't had anything like this since the Olympic goal. I think this game is just a setup for the final that's coming up now. Of course, that depends if the final is a complete flop or not. Then this game would be the game changer. But if the final is an absolute crazy game again, whoever comes out on top, then I think again that then this game will just be the precursor, and then the final will be the one that ultimately is the most recent great game of hockey that we've seen. So you have to wait and see.
I think a lot of people are now can't wait till Thursday. The anticipation's building, but I don't know because all of this happened organically. I don't know whatever happens on Thursday, you're going to be able to top this. We may not remember who wins the Four Nations Cup, but we're sure going to remember the game where the anthem got booed, 3 fights in 9 seconds, and then the Americans win. And that's and that we may end up having a great game on Thursday. But just because of this, and then the visceral reaction, not only from the Canadian fans, but from the American fans. Curtis, I don't know where you're coming in, but you said that, with me, social media was spicy to say the least, downright embarrassing to go one step further at times, depending on what you're seeing on Saturday after all is said and done.
If you're someone that doesn't go on Twitter, that's awesome. If you're someone that does, I don't know, I would try to avoid it for the next couple days. That is just a terrible place to be right now. All I can say is I really hope Canada pulls one out on Thursday, because it is so tough just seeing all these people run their mouths being like, oh man, this is our game now, and it's going to be our country in no time too. It's like, relax. It was 2-1, and you put in an empty netter. It was a 1-goal game. You weren't running away with it, and it's still going to be. If you thought this was a good game, I'm betting Thursday's going to be even better, no doubt. Way more on the line. It's going to be even more gritty.
I think a lot of us are hoping for it. Now, keep in mind, Saturday we had no Cale Makar. Undisclosed injury, but he was able to play yesterday. And then the Americans, who ended up playing yesterday, and no Matthew Tkachuk, no Charlie McAvoy. Brady Tkachuk goes down during the game. So the injury bug is kind of biting them, where Canada's going to have a little better of a roster coming back. But the one thing about the American game, outside of the fights, and it looked like the Tkachuk brothers, here's the thing. Keith Tkachuk, just on lineage alone and the kids he's produced, should get him into the Hockey Hall of Fame just because of his good. Forget the fact that he was a great player. Just on the kids he's produced alone, who are ready to throw down and die for their country on Saturday. That was truly evident. But once the booing of the anthem started, and I knew it would, but I'm like, ooh, this is getting full on. And there was politicians there and stuff, and there was social media tweeting, and I'm like, we better win this game because we pushed all of our chips in. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's Keith Tkachuk. If you're watching the stream on X or at sportscage.com on our YouTube channel, there's Dad Keith fighting Claude Lemieux in 1996. And then Matthew and Brady fighting Sam Bennett. what would have truly been interesting is if Matthew would have ended up fighting Sam Bennett, their teammates. That would have been even crazier. But I think everything was on the table Saturday. I was wondering after that third fight, and JT Miller and Colton Parayko, and Parayko got the better of them. They settled down and they started playing hockey. And here was the frustrating part. If you were Connor McDavid and you're a fan of Team Canada, the Americans shut down the middle of the ice. They couldn't do anything. And they pressured Connor McDavid and they hit Connor McDavid. Well, he did get a nice goal. Okay. But then after that, they did something, and it was kind of like they locked him down, and it just got very frustrating to watch because there was nothing clean for them. There was nothing for them in the middle of the ice. The Americans, would you guys both agree, once the game settled down, ended up playing a pretty good hockey game?
Yeah, once they got all the fight out of their system. Yeah. They more or less controlled things, it felt like, after letting in that goal. Yeah. Like, it wasn't a runaway, like Curtis was saying, because it still ended up being a one-goal game, but they more or less controlled the pace of the game.
And the Americans, although they got down 1-0, here was my thing. After the Canadians scored the first goal, if Canada gets a second goal there, I think the game would have turned into a runaway for Team Canada. So they needed to shut the door. And they were able to do that and then bring it on. This goal by Dylan Larkin, this is a goal scorer's goal. That's nice. Now, if can you fault Jordan Binnington on that alone, or is that just a true goal scorer's goal? And that was just a great shot.
No, you can't fault him. And you definitely can't fault him on the third goal. So that's something, right? Yeah, momentum is really important to any sport, to be honest. If Canada can get some momentum, you're feeling a little bit of the pressure, and that's when things can snowball and people make mistakes when they're desperate and all that jazz. But yeah, kudos to the U.S. for keeping it calm and collected and pulling it out even after Canada came out with that first goal right away.
Calm and collected is not a way that you can describe anybody that was on social media after the game. There's a couple of people. So remember we had Tim Peel on, the retired NHL referee, in December?
Yes, sir.
He put out a tweet, huge traction, because he had talked about not booing the anthems. I think he's a senator or a congressman from the state of Florida. His name is Byron Donalds. He put out a 6-point tweet about the dominance of America in hockey and just overall in general. I'm like, wow, like you have reached some new levels of casual hockey fan that you've now got engaged, and I said, after Saturday, watching yesterday was very meh, as the kids would say. Like, was there any doubt that Canada was going to beat Finland? And were you watching with the same intensity? No. Did you care that the Americans lost to Sweden 2-1? No. It was basically, can we call off yesterday and just get to Thursday so the Americans can play the Canadians in the final? I think, and now people were talking, we don't even need Sweden and Finland. Let's just have a best 3 out of 5, Canada, USA, and scrap the All-Star break altogether and just do this every year. That may lose its luster a little, but it sure set the stage for Colson thinks, if it turns out okay, a game that may be even bigger than what happened on Saturday. And I'm saying, I don't think anything tops Saturday. That will be burned in my mind and a lot of people's minds.
Yeah,
forever.
I find
We'd love to get
really
your thoughts.
hard. I find it really hard to top 3 fights in the opening 9 seconds. I will
Sure.
I will agree with that, but the game as a whole, I think, has the potential to be bigger.
Okay. I would love to get your thoughts, because we're not the only ones that watch that game on Saturday and are like, wow. Still sitting here almost in a daze. 306-936-6262 on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Busy show today. We're going to talk with Kyle McIntyre. There's a lot going on in the world of hockey, a lot of Four Nations Cup. But the big bombshell that was dropped earlier today, the Notre Dame Hounds, Junior A in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, are going to be leaving Notre Dame. They're leaving Wilcox. They're moving to Warman. In principle, there has to be a few things that happen there, but this will be the last season for the Notre Dame Hounds in Wilcox. A storied franchise. National champion, Canadian champion. Think of Rod Brindamore. Think of everybody that's gone through there and played with the Hounds. So we're going to talk to Kyle at about 4:30 this afternoon, and we'll get the latest from him. When a team moves, this is nothing that probably happened. It doesn't happen spur of the moment. There's probably a lot that goes into it, so I have a lot of questions to ask him about. Benny Walchuk's going to come by. We're going to do the SJHL report at about 5:30. Arash Madani, if you're a Blue Jays fan. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this thing is a train wreck, and it's not getting any better. So enjoy him while we've got him, because he's not going to be a Blue Jay this time next year. And coming up next on the all-new Sports Cage, Rob Vanstone from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're going to go inside the war room at Mosaic Stadium for his take on Rider free agency. And we'll also ask him about the hockey game on Saturday, because I'm sure he was watching. We'll be right back. This is the all-new Sports Cage, streaming on X and at sportscage.com, on our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
When equipment breaks down, there's no one more reliable than Reliable Equipment Repair, your authorized Kohler and Honda Parts and Service Center. They're your outdoor power equipment experts. Mowers, rototillers, snowblowers, water pumps, generators, industrial gas-powered equipment, power trowels, plate tampers, grain auger motors, garden tractors, and more. Pickup and delivery available. There's no one more reliable than Reliable Equipment Repair. 1702 McCarra Street, Regina.
Listen weekdays at noon for Saskag Today on 620 CKRM with your host Ryan Young, along with Doug Falconer and Kevin Hirsch, offering the most extensive agricultural news coverage with precision weather meteorologists. In an industry that moves fast, stay updated with the latest, most reliable information and ag news, prices and trends, all in one place. Available anytime at saskagtoday.com. Saskag Today, your trusted source for all things agriculture on 620 CKRM.
The 28th Annual Willow Bunch Golf Club Auto Lotto Grand Prize is $50,000 cash or $60,000 Lotto cash towards a new vehicle from Nelson GM. Second prize is $10,000 cash or $14,000 Lotto cash towards a recreational vehicle from E. Barassa & Sons. Plus 3 subsidiary draws for $2,500 each. Tickets are only $50 each. Only 3,200 tickets sold. Don't forget to add on your 50/50 tickets. Deadline's this Saturday. Purchase your Auto Lotto tickets by calling 1-866-729-3478.
Welcome back to the all-new Sports Cage. Get social with us. Follow us on X at Sports Cage. Watch our video stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Tomorrow's a Regina Pats game day. The Calgary Hitmen are in town. Bennett Dunlop Ford Pats hockey starts at 6:30 tomorrow night with the pregame show from the Brand Center. Dante DeCaria will have the call at 7 o'clock. It's Maz in for Barney. This is the Sports Cage. And let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. The Greek-style pizza that has become famous worldwide, plus all the Greek and Canadian food you can't get enough of. Western Pizza, the local legend. Last week's free agency frenzy in the CFL was exciting, even if the Riders are your team, but it's neat to keep an eye on what's happening around the league. Rob Vanstone, who writes some great stuff for Riderville.com, went inside the war room, as he called it, to give us a peek inside Saskatchewan Roughrider free agency. First of all, Rob, as always, welcome back to the show. We'll get to you're an old newspaper guy, and headlines are a thing, and I can only imagine on Saturday some of the headlines you may have been dreaming up as that hockey game was going on. But let's talk Riders first. Free agency last week. You went inside the war room to give us a glimpse as to what happens behind the scenes. Set the stage for us. When this is all going down, where are you at Mosaic Stadium, and who all is involved in this?
Well, I staggered in there about 5 minutes to 11 o'clock on free agency day, and welcomed by Jeremy O'Day. Kyle Carson, the assistant GM, was there, and Director of Football Operations Jordan Greenlee, who handles all the nuts and bolts of the contracts, was sitting there with his laptop. And basically it was 11 o'clock, actually 11:01, and sent the contracts out to Philippe Gagnon and to Tommy Stevens, and those had been agreed to during the free agency window, and just waited for them to come back. And the funny thing was Jordan brought along an air horn, And every time, I guess it's convention that every time the Riders complete a deal, period, he blows off the air horn. So first the Tommy Stevens signing came back in about 13, 14 minutes, and honk goes the air horn. And then Jordan had to go to his office, and while he was walking toward his office on his phone, he got the return contract from Philippe Gagnon. And so in the distance, which was a bit of a merciful as far as our hearing goes, Jordan sounded the the horn again, and that was pretty much it, or so we thought. But what was percolating was the Sean McEwen contract, and that was announced the following day. It was Jeremy O'Day was actually meeting the media when Jordan got the contract back from Sean McEwen. So that was a bit of a bombshell, and it's, I mean, 3-time All-CFL, 4-time Divisional All-Star, etc. Tremendous reputation. So I wasn't in there for that. It was Tommy Stevens and Philippe Gagnon and boring Jeremy and Kyle and Jordan by talking about my dog. I think that's why they got the contracts back real quick, so I'd get out of there and stop talking about candy. So
they're texting agents in the CFL to be like, listen, is there any way that you can just it's a handshake agreement? We don't need a signature. All right, we're good. All right, let's wrap. Let's go for lunch. We had so McEwen was on Friday with Barney, and he just seemed so happy and so excited to start a new chapter in his football career. Now, some will say, like you'd mentioned, 3-time All-Star. Some will say he didn't have a great season in Calgary, and that's one of the reasons why maybe they let him go to free agency. To me, if he did have a dip, a Sean McEwen dip is still better to me than a lot of guys having a good season. So I think we're walking in to someone that not only has a lot of good football left in him, but something to prove. Do you see that as well?
I think it's I'm not sure about something to prove. I think what was interesting when I talked to him that day as well, he says he thinks his best football is ahead of him. And that's something when you consider the type of resume that he's compiled in the Canadian Football League. And it also says something when this is somebody who's born in Calgary, played Canada West football for the Dinos. His wife works in Calgary. They have a 15-month-old daughter. And I think it would have been really easy just to kind of embrace the status quo and stay in Calgary. But I think he was intrigued by the situation here. He really liked what Corey Mace has going on in terms of the locker room and the chemistry. He was signed by someone who, like himself, is a 3-time All-CFL center in Jeremy O'Day. I think he just really liked the vibe here, and he has some dealings. He's had dealings with Corey Mace before in Calgary. They intersected in the 2021 season. Mark Mueller was in Calgary there.
Yeah,
so I think it was just a nice fit, and it's not too far removed from home. So it's really intriguing because I was, everybody was kind of, after Peter Godber signed with Ottawa, you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen at center? Will Logan Ferland move there? What possibilities are there? But bang, Sean McEwen. That changed a lot.
And if it was a surprise kind of out of left field to you and you work there, could you imagine to us as fans when all of a sudden we see it on social media be like, what? We just got Sean McEwen from the Stamps?
Well, it's funny, actually. I was interviewing Trevor Harris. I was doing a story on Trevor and Kaylee for Valentine's Day because they had Trevor's marriage proposal to Kaylee was an all-timer. I did a story on it for Riderville last week. He dressed up in a mascot costume and got down on one knee and took off the mascot's head and proposed to Kaylee at a pep rally at an elementary school in Ohio. And so I was talking to him about that. And in the midst of that, Trev goes, you see, we got Sean McEwen. My email had just gone off about a minute earlier. It's like, that's how I found out from the quarterback. So.
Rob, as a married man with a bunch of daughters, being the last to know in my own house is something I'm very used to. So if I'm last to know in the world of media and comes to sports, it's not a big deal. Today, the Riders sign Kerfala Exume DB who played, he spent time with the Montreal Alouettes, and he's a 2-time Grey Cup champion with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Toronto Argonauts. What do we know, or what can you tell us about the newest rider?
Special teams dynamo. I mean, right from the moment he walked into the Canadian Football League in 2019, he was a force on special teams. He's had as many as 23 special teams tackles in a year. And I mean, this is someone who was picked in the 8th round, 80th overall in 2019, and the draft ended at pick 83. So talk about somebody who has come in here and done something, or come into the CFL and done something with what would seem to be a token pick. I guess, we had a Joe last year as a 7th rounder come in and play. And here's someone who is as an 8th rounder has become just a fixture on special teams in the Canadian Football League. And if I recall correctly, when he plays his first game as a Rough Rider, be the first 8th round draft choice to play for the team since receiver Joshua Stanford, and that would have been just under a decade ago.
Yeah, normally 8th round draft picks. Yeah. Outstanding. Because, 8th round draft picks are normally names on paper that maybe get shuffled once or twice. They may make it to training camp, but they are never supposed to make a roster, let alone to go on and have a career and win 2 Grey Cups. So it's funny, until today, and I kind of was reading the bio, I really didn't know, but it's so funny, even in a 9-team league, when you get a player that plays out east, and there's not a lot of exposure per se, you don't know some of the, I would say it's like a Benoit Marion. Well, maybe everybody in the football world in the CFL knew exactly who he was, but when he showed up, you're like, who's this guy? I really like this guy. Where's he been? This is, outstanding. I think I've said this to you before. And since you're a writer, and like I said, you're digging up stories. I didn't know that Trevor Harris dressed as a mascot to propose to his wife. That's unique. Pro wrestlers and pro football players usually have the most unique backstories to get to where they were. With a whole crop of new free agents and new riders coming to town, do you kind of get excited at this time of year because of some of the new personalities that are coming in to become part of the green and white?
Yeah, I mean, I love telling the stories of the players, and I love going on a Google binge and a newspapers.com binge and just trying to find out little tidbits that I can put on the website. I'm trying to make the bios on riderville.com kind of cool as far as just obscure tidbits. So, and just kind of stockpiling a list of ideas for training camp. I've already got, a list forming. And every year with the off-season signings, it seems there's a few that I'm just itching to write once training camp gets here. Last year, receiver Jake Parker tried out for the team, and he was in Patrick Mahomes' wedding party. So I knew in February, the first person I was going to talk to at rookie camp was Jake Parker. so Exume is one of those players too that just, if I don't talk to him before camp, I want to chat with him pretty soon into camp, because there's a really cool story there, and there's got to be.
I think we just found out that we're going to have head coach Corey Mace with us tomorrow on the show at around 3:30. So it'll be interesting to hear what Coach has to say about the roster that they've built. Now that we're a couple days past free agency, the frenzy of it, there's a lot of grades being given out across the league and the teams and all of that. I'm not doing you get it, but there's A plus, A minus, B minus. I'll ask you around the league, is there a team that went out that, outside of just spending money, is there a team that you think legitimately got better and addressed some glaring needs?
I mean, I think a lot of people are impressed with what the Ottawa Red Blacks have done. And, they had a decent year last year, but I think that's a team that a lot of people are looking at as one that's ready to take another step. It's interesting. It's a bit of an inverse proportion. I think the more active you are in free agency, at times that doesn't necessarily correlate with a great season. I think, Jeremy O'Day's talked about that a lot, how he's very, surgical in terms of how many players are signed via free agency. When Calgary was on that year-to-year roll, they didn't sign a lot of free agents. They just kept finding their own guys. But I think there's been a nice balance here. But I think Ottawa's really improved themselves. It's hard to look at Edmonton and think that they're not going to be significantly stronger. BC is made some impressive signings and really bolstered the offensive line. And it's again this time of year everything is on paper and everything can change with one injury or one hit. But I really like what Ottawa's done. Outside of here, but they've been tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Edmonton spent the most or made the most amount of splashes. I think Ottawa addressed the most amount of needs. As far as like Ed Hervey wins on the Costco, hey, I got the most. But I think you'd said the word surgical. Ottawa went and put some pieces in place there. Somebody that doesn't seem to necessarily be overly active in free agency, they always kind of restock from within, are the Toronto Argonauts. And then on the flip side of that, we'll go to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are hosting the Grey Cup this year. Or the Grey Cup is in Winnipeg, I should say. It's not a matter. There's a lot of their fans complaining online that Kyle Walters in a Grey Cup year didn't load up. If anything, the Blue Bomber basket has been raided. Does it seem a little odd that having the Grey Cup in Winnipeg and they didn't do more?
No, I don't think so. I still think they've got a really good nucleus there. I mean, a lot has been made of Kenny Lawler leaving. Adam Bighill was released, but they've still got a tremendous nucleus there. And with the established players that they have, you're paying, or they are paying, for players who have impressive resumes. You look at that offensive line and what a group of mainstays that has been. Well, that doesn't come without a cost. You look Willie Jefferson, that doesn't come without a cost. Zach Claros, Nick Dembski, they re-signed Dalton Schoen. That's a tremendous football team. And yes, there have been some departures, but Winnipeg, I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've been to 5 consecutive Grey Cups, and I think that's an indication that Kyle Walters is very astute at what he does. I remember Winnipeg started off at 0-4 last year, and everybody was pronouncing, or a lot of people were kind of throwing dirt on them, and there they were in the Grey Cup again. It's one of those things, champion until dethroned, at least in this division.
Well, that's why with the Toronto thing, you never know. They just seem to find players everywhere. Every year, it seems everybody steals everybody on their defensive line. And by the end of the season, they have an outstanding or all-star defensive line. And
you look at Toronto. You look at Toronto last year, Chris, and they, the consensus this time of year was that Toronto was a weaker football team because they'd lost some big-name free agents, and there they were winning the Grey Cup. That's the danger of projecting this time of year when you haven't even. The pads haven't even collided yet.
So since we're into crazy February -29, -39 with the wind chill predictions, how important is it to have that West final home playoff game for whatever team is going to get? Like, how important is it, with everything you've seen, everybody just in the West Division alone, to have home field advantage for the West Division final?
I mean, it's not imperative. If you look at the Roughriders Grey Cup history, every time they've advanced to and won a Grey Cup, that victory has been on the road. They finished first in 1966, but it was Game 2 of Winnipeg where they clinched the berth. 89, they won in Edmonton. 2007, won in BC. 2013, won in Calgary. So the Roughriders, history indicates it's not imperative, but it sure would help. And I could also point to history and 1973, 1974, 1975. There was so little to choose between the Roughriders and Edmonton. And the West Final in each of those 3 years was so close, but Edmonton came out just ahead each year. 1976, that game is finally in Saskatchewan. The Riders won 23-13. And so, going back only nearly half a century, I just remember going into that 76 West Final. It's like, okay, Edmonton's here now. It's going to be different, and it sure was.
All right. It's always fun to talk. It's always fun to talk football in February, but there's still a long way to go till training camp. A lot going on. So let's rewind to Saturday night. And as a newspaper person, one of the big things is headlines. You've got to have something catchy that will catch a reader's eye to suck them in to read the story. So Saturday, Canada, USA. What were some of the potential headlines that may have been rolling through your head? Maybe pregame, maybe during the game, and then after the game. To me, that's a game that's going to be etched in a lot of people's memories. Probably one of the biggest, most memorable games since 2010. It'll be the Saturday night that hockey fans won't forget.
Even though the result isn't what Canadians wanted, I mean, it was one of those times when people everything stops for a sporting event. And again, I'll go way back, 1972 in the Summit Series. And it had a little bit of that feel because there's other issues creeping into the discussion. And, you look at Russia in 1972, and it was Cold War back then. You look at what's happening in the United States, and you've got the whole national anthem issue. So there was a bit of the factors external to hockey creeping into the equation, which added to the intrigue. And there was also the growing appetite, over so many years, wondering what it was going to be like to see a Canadian best-on-best team. It's the first time at age 28, Connor McDavid is finally playing as a professional internationally. And we're seeing what Nathan McKinnon is able to do and things of that nature. And so I think the lack of best-on-best for a number of years added to the intrigue. And other factors were part of it. And even though it was the outcome wasn't what we wanted to see. I think you could tell that, okay, maybe if things go a little differently, maybe if they shoot instead of pass, there was a tendency to maybe try and set up the perfect play a little too often. Why not just fire the puck at the net, etc. So I don't think there's much to choose between these teams. I'm really looking forward to Thursday. And you don't get this. This is such a short tournament too. You just don't get to see these things very often. And you're watching Crosby and McDavid and Nathan McKinnon on the same team. And Nathan McKinnon in overtime with open ice and just, oh my goodness, that was breathtaking. Connor McDavid, the first goal he scored the other day, hitting amazing velocity. I mean, this is a joy, and we have to really savor this regardless of how it turns out while we can, because you don't get to see this very often. That's just the way it's unfolded.
After Saturday, and I think for a lot of us who are still sitting there with our mouths open going, did that really just happen? Even the games yesterday seemed very inconsequential and unimaginative, almost to the point of, it's boring. It really didn't matter that Canada was playing Finland and that the States lost to Sweden. Saturday set the stage and set the bar incredibly high for, we hope, what will turn out to be an incredible final on Thursday in Boston, which I was worried when the fans started booing the anthem. The fans in the building were making a statement for what a lot of people were lumping in all of Canada and all of us hockey fans by their actions. Rightfully or wrongfully, I guess we're all in. And I thought at that time, all right, well, we better win this hockey game because we've just, we're in, but the Tkachuk brothers were ready to basically lay their lives on the line for their country. And I had said in the last segment that their dad, for offspring purposes alone, should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, let alone what he did in his career. But for the kids that he has produced, to see this, for I think a lot of people, because 2010 in the Olympic goal, it's 15 years ago now.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing? I know. 50. There's a whole generation of younger fans that they probably can watch the 2010 clip on YouTube like anybody can, but they didn't see it live. That this is going to be what paints the picture of hockey. Now, whether you're a young American fan or you're a young Canadian fan, you're seeing this. It made me feel bad for Brady because with him playing in Ottawa, and if they never make the playoffs, to deny him the chance to shine when the lights are brightest, that will be, I feel for him because he plays with such passion. And if he gets stuck on a dud like Ottawa for all of his career and they never make the playoffs, I think it's a true waste of young NHL talent, a superstar that will never get the stage to be showcased properly.
And his dad is a former Jet, and that's really important. I've got to cheer against Connor Hellebuyck on Thursday. That's not something I'm accustomed to doing. But, you know, if Brady Tkachuk were Canadian, he would be sort of the quintessential Canadian hockey player. I mean, he's just that type of player. What does that tell you about the nature of this event when 9 seconds in, there's already been 3 fights? I mean, when do you ever see that in international hockey? When do you ever see that in the Stanley Cup playoffs with so much at stake?
No.
There was just so much riding on this game, and you just wonder how the final is going to unfold. Now, players might be a bit more cautious about putting themselves in the penalty box for 5 minutes, given everything that's at stake. But I just can't imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like. It's going to radiate through the television on Thursday. And I haven't been this excited about an international hockey game in ages. Even the Golden Goal game, I was in Whistler at the Olympics, and I was in the main press center, and I was actually working on a story. So I was writing about ski jumping when Nordic Combined. I was writing about Nordic Combined when the rest of Canada was watching Canada versus US. So I never actually saw the goal live. I just heard people cheering, and then it was back to Nordic Combined. So this is making up for my distraction of 2010.
I can honestly say on Saturday, and I'll probably have the same feeling on Thursday, like a lot of us will, I was nervous and anxious leading up to that hockey game. I'm not playing in it. I am sitting on a couch with a bag of Old Dutch Ripple chips and a Diet Dr. Pepper. I have nothing to do with the outcome, but I felt tense and nervous going in. I'm not sure if you felt that same way or if that's the way it's going to be for you on Thursday night, but man, oh man, there's a lot riding on this, but it'll be interesting. Like Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett, and Sam Reinhart, they're Florida Panthers when all of this is said and done at about 10 o'clock on Thursday night, and then they're going to go back to their teams and finish out the rest of the regular season. We'll wrap on this. Have you liked what you've seen from a couple of the Western Hockey Leaguers in Braden Point and Brandon Hagel?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not a lot of people talk about Hagel because they've had so many stars there. But, you know, seeing the type of player he is and how he's so deserving of being in this event, I think that's a bit of an awakening. Braden Point, I mean, I remember him as a 15-year-old against the Regina Pats in the playoffs, owning them. And you see the goal he scored yesterday, going forehand to backhand. Even on the slow motion replay, it was fast. and it's really neat to see someone who not too long ago was, you know, playing road games, maybe about 200 yards away from where I'm sitting right now, doing this on a world stage. And I'm so glad I got to see him play up close. And it's neat to watch those Western Leaguers in these international games.
Alrighty, he's Rob Vanstone from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you want to read his latest about going inside the war room when it comes to free agency, you can just hit up the website. It's riderville.com. Time to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking Scotty's Tournament of Hearts. So far, so good for the Martin Rink from Saskatchewan. Maybe not where we want to be, but we're right in the thick of things. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. Streaming on our website at YouTube at sportscage.com and on X, and it's on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Your memory is the first thing to go. That's not the case with the Memory Shuttle feature on a Case IH Maxim Active Drive 8 dual clutch transmission. Memory Shuttle remembers the last gear you shifted to in each direction and automatically returns to that gear each time you shuttle forward or reverse. Memory Shuttle is a great feature when you're bailing, loading, or removing snow. If it could only remember where I left my truck keys, visit Young's Equipment Incorporated, where productivity is always the solution.
Every Sunday morning, wake up to country music legends on 620 CKRM. Sunday Morning Classics. Celebrate the legends that paved the way and define the heart and soul of country music. Relive the unforgettable classic hits and the legacy of country's greatest artists. Join us this Sunday and every Sunday as we honor the icons who brought country music to life. It's a journey through the rich history of country music. Sunday Morning Classics for Regina Funeral Home and Cemetery. Sundays at 8 a.m. on the Voice of Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
Affordable Trailer Sales is having their outdoor celebration February 13th to 23rd. Get incredible prices on new and used travel trailers. New 2025 travel trailers starting as low as $22,900 or $105 bi-weekly. Below cost on leftover models. Trades are welcome and get free storage until spring. Plus, get a free backup camera system and annual provincial park pass with every new unit purchased. Over a $1,000 value. Affordable Trailer Sales, Highway 1 West, South Service Road. AffordableTrailerSales.ca.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. They've got everything you need for your projects. 600 Albert Street. PrairieLandRental.com.
Welcome back to the all-new Sports Cage. Connect with the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262.
The Sports Cage is brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Its Wing Wednesdays are unbeatable at the Canadian Brewhouse, only 69 cents each, and a mountain of flavors to savor. And a flavor of the month to do that wing thing every Wednesday at the Canadian Brewhouse. If you want to be part of the show, 306-936-6262. That's the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Scotty's Tournament of Hearts going on in Thunder Bay. If you thought Regina was cold, the third week of February, Thunder Bay is not exotic. Let's just put it that way. Team Saskatchewan skip, Nancy Martin. Listen, hey, what are we? 3-2, can't complain. Let's go back to Friday. They opened up the tournament. They beat Northern Ontario 10-6. Saturday, they beat Prince Edward Island 8-6. Then on Sunday, they lost to BC 7-6. Yesterday, they won the early game against New Brunswick 7-5. And then last night, they end up losing. And I thought they played a great game. If you watched, Rachel Holman was off. She missed some shots. Team Sask was able to steal 3, but they end up losing 9-6. They're on the ice against Alberta. Yeah, here it is right here as they wrap up against Holman, and she draws. And, Rachel Holman's good. She's the best of the best. That's the cream of the crop. And if that's a measuring stick, and I thought, and who knows, they may end up playing each other in the playoff rounds. That's the bar, and that's who you're going to have to beat. Because with the Page playoff system, where even if you're up top, but you lose, you can come back. I don't know that Rachel Holman's losing 2 games in a row. They're on the ice. Colson, can you check? We're on the ice against Alberta. Do we have a score yet?
Give me one
second. Can you
sec.
check on that? All right. And then tomorrow we got a doubleheader. We play Nunavut in the morning, and then we play Alberta 2, I think, in the late draw. Your leaderboard in Pool A, Team Canada at 4-0, BC at 4-1, Saskatchewan at 3-2. Pool B, Ontario 4-1, Manitoba 3-1, Nova Scotia and Ontario with 3-2 records. Remember when there used to be like 10 or 11 teams? Well, there's 16 now. Like I said, there's 2 Alberta teams. I've got Team Canada. It's a lot. It's a little confusing. Vic Rauter, as always, is at the top of his game. Watched a lot of curling this weekend at the in-laws and then at our house because the kids are into it. We were having the debate. We had to Google on Saturday night, skip Nancy Martin. She's 51 from the Nutana Club in Saskatoon. Shaylin Stewart, Kadriana Lott, and Deanna Doig make up the rest of the Saskatchewan foursome. Colson, where are we at score-wise?
We have a final. 10-5 for Alberta.
Oh.
Yeah. Alberta scored 5 in the 6th end, which put them up 7-2. So that really puts you behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, when you're giving up a 5, it's tough to come back to. Oh man, that's an end where everything goes wrong. And I'm not a curler, but when you're giving up a 5, so here we are. It's Tuesday, February 18th. And last week there was talk on the show about Valentine's Day. And each of us, we kind of got into our different plans. Now, Colson, you probably had the most intriguing plans because although you weren't celebrating on Friday, your wife said, leave Saturday open. I've got a surprise for you. What did it end up being?
It was a road trip, which I already knew that part of it. But we went up to Saskatoon, and I think she enjoys bringing out my childhood, as she's just been finding out more pieces of it. And so there was a model train exhibition in Saskatoon that she took me up to, which I quite enjoyed. I don't know how about any other Sports Cage listeners would have enjoyed, but hey, I love her, so I enjoyed it quite a bit.
No, I'm going to say, if you've ever met anybody that's into model trains, model anything, if you ever want to talk to some of the most passionate people on the planet, like if you meet someone, because a lot of these guys, if they have model trains, they wear the conductor hat and the overalls. And it's like they're driving a real train.
Yep.
Like they're that into it.
There was a 8-year-old kid there, and this was his 4th train show, and he had his stuff all set up. It wasn't as sophisticated as all the clubs and everything, but he loves it just as much as they did. So any and all ages.
And Kurt, I really like hearing like the the wood train whistles people carry.
There was that too. Don't worry.
That's the good stuff.
Now, Curtis, you told us because you and your girlfriend are doing the long distance thing that you didn't get a chance to see her this weekend, and that you may have to do Valentine's at another point. And we got into you were trying to maybe be romantic and a little vacation, but there's passport issues, and now you can't find a birth certificate, but you're millennials. Are you guys millennials, or what generation are you? And that's because she doesn't keep her documents in secure places, but we didn't want to start a fight. I'm just paraphrasing.
Yeah, you know what? That sums it all up. I did find her birth certificate, though. It was It was in a Ziploc bag as advertised, but it was between like I had like a glass cooking pot and like a Dutch oven, and it was in between them, like above my fridge. So I found it. But
so any of the any of the texters that get us at 306-936-6260, when you guys are, you're so hard on these guys. No, well, like somebody had their birth certificate in with the pots and pans.
That wasn't me.
That
wasn't me.
I'm not okay. Well, but it's I'm just pointing it out. I'm not the one that put it there, but that's some people may put it in a more secure place. That wouldn't fly at our house.
Yeah, that someone's not the love of my life, I guess, though. Hey,
my wife Abby and I, we ended up at the keg. Grandma looked after the kids, and we're like, well, let's just go. And we walked in. Do you have a reservation? No. Can we just sit in the bar? Sure. So we sat at the bar, which was great. I love, and as someone who has worked in the restaurant industry, like there's real people, real conversations going on, and we're sitting there, and eventually it just fills up and it's packed. And then there's a couple that sits down next to us, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just in town. We live by Melfort, Tisdale. Like, where are you guys from? You're right next to them, so you're chatting. Oh, happy anniversary!" And they were going. I think her name was Edna, and I think his name was Dawn. They're from around Melfort, Tisdale, and they're going on a cruise to the Bahamas later this week. And I ended up knowing all of this in about 60 seconds of Ed sitting down next to me. Or Edna, pardon me. But like they were super friendly, and just we were all there for the classic meal that included the starter Caesar salad. And you really can't beat
you can't really be that surprised.
No, and it was good. And it's funny, and we were in and we were out, but you could tell. Now, Colson, I know you and Curtis, you guys are young in your relationships, and you were super in love, which is great. The tables around us that had the reservations that did it properly, nice table, only 2 people in a booth, nice bottle of wine, taking their time, thought out. Us, sort of more experienced in love, at the bar, taking what we can get, having a nice meal, being efficient, because we know in the lobby there's 10 more couples like us that are just like, hey, maybe we can get in and sit down before we got to get back to the kids at grandma's or at the babysitters and stuff and get going. So if you were a big spender on Friday night with a loving bottle of wine, maybe Camus, that's a great bottle, especially if you're having a nice steak. I don't know if you're going to find a better Cabernet than that. Good on you. And didn't you say it's your anniversary, so you're going to be off later this week? Colson, where are you going?
Oh, we're taking a quick trip over the weekend. Take some time off for first year anniversary, yeah.
Nice. And where are you headed to?
Just to Banff. That's where I proposed to her, so trip back there. Makes sense.
Nice. To recreate the memories. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back. Arash Madani. The Toronto Blue Jays have problems. A lot of people love Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but he doesn't love the Jays back. We'll get into that next. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.
Get ready to welcome spring by attending the Regina Spring Home Show from February 28th to March 2nd at the Viterra International Trade Center, Real District. Explore the latest trends in building, renovation, and outdoor living all in one place, all while making it the perfect opportunity to gather inspiration. Don't miss out on expert advice, innovative products, and the chance to connect with vendors to kickstart your projects. See you at the Spring Home Show, February 28th to March 2nd. Visit reginaspringhomeshow.com for details.
Like a watermelon helmet, Saskatchewan Roughrider football sits top of mind for Rider Nation. The temperature may be chilly, but the excitement is heating up for the 2025 season with free agency and training camp just around the corner. Buy or renew your season tickets now and secure your spot at Mosaic Stadium today. Visit us at riderville.com for more information. That's riderville.com.
This is 620 CKRM, a Harvard media station. Available everywhere in high-res audio with the CKRM app.
It's 4:02. Good afternoon. It's sunny and it's minus 29 in Regina. I'm Corey Atkinson from the Harvard Media, from the SaskToday.ca newsroom, with 620 CKRM News. The Saskatchewan NDP is pushing for urgent changes in the province's healthcare system as emergency rooms face worsening conditions. They're calling for more doctors, full-time positions for healthcare workers, and fewer management roles. Saskatoon City Hospital's ER will soon close after 6 p.m. due to staff shortages, leading to overcrowding at other hospitals. NDP MLA Keith Jorgensen says patients are already suffering, pointing to a recent case where a Lloydminster patient died after being rerouted to a further hospital. The NDP says funds spent on overtime could be used to hire more staff and keep ERs open 24/7. A Southern Saskatchewan high school famed for producing hockey greats is planning to move its Junior A team to a new city later this year. The Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League says the Notre Dame Hounds at Athol Murray College in Wilcox are conditionally approved to relocate just north of Saskatoon to Warman. League Commissioner Kyle McIntyre says the move is a result of the school creating a new vision that focuses on multiple sports.
Notre Dame, now with the rise of all these hockey academies throughout Canada, they no longer have the monopoly on hockey. And so I think they identified that, hey, you know what, we need a new strategic vision for the school. We're going to go back to our roots and be a academic and multi-sport experience for students.
McIntyre says it's difficult for small communities to support a junior hockey team, and most of the players no longer go to school in the village. A public inquest into the death of Brendan Vermette will take place from March 18th to 21st at the Coronet Hotel in Prince Albert. Vermette, 31, was found unconscious in his Saskatchewan penitentiary cell on March 9th, 2022. Despite life-saving efforts, he was pronounced dead shortly after 1 a.m. The inquest, which will be led by Coroner Blaine Bevan, aims to determine the cause of death and may lead to recommendations to prevent similar cases in the future. Higher prices at the pump contributed to Canada's inflation rate ticking back up to 1.9% last month. Statistics Canada says gas prices rose 8.6% in January compared with a year ago, offsetting the federal government's 2-month tax break that ended over the weekend. It says the inflation rate would have jumped to 2.7% without the tax break on restaurant meals and a slew of items. Restaurant prices dropped 5.1% from a year ago. And the head of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's food division has quit, saying it would have been fruitless to continue after recent job cuts.
Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods Jim Jones cited the indiscriminate firing of about 89 people as his decision to quit the FDA, according to sources familiar with the matter. Jones told the agency's acting commissioner that the Trump administration showed, quote, disdain for the very people necessary to implement the agenda. Among those who recently lost their jobs, according to two sources, staff working on nutrition and infant formula safety, and others hired to review potentially unsafe food ingredients. Brian Clark, ABC News.
That's your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Experience the next level of cleanliness with B&Boa's cleaning services. Whether it's your office, retail space, or home, they use advanced cleaning technology and eco-friendly products to deliver unmatched results. They even do commercial high-rise ventilation pipes dusting. They offer a special rate for seniors, 15% off for first-time customers. Visit their new location, 855 Arcola Avenue, online at bboascleaning.com or call 306-522-5262.
This winter, make sure you have tires that are ready to handle the snowy and icy roads and get them at Quality Tire. If you don't have winter tires, this is the time to get them. At 7 degrees Celsius, the rubber on all season tires start to harden in the cold. With winter tires, you'll be able to stop sooner and avoid the accident in front of you. And start driving quicker in case the car behind you doesn't have winter tires from Quality Tire. With 9 locations across Saskatchewan.
QualityTire.ca.
And now your 620 CKRM precision weather forecast for Line-X Regina. Serious protection, killer looks, 1865 McIntyre Street. Tonight it's clear and cold with a low of -40 and the wind chill near -48. Tomorrow, sunshine and a high of -23. And on Thursday, mostly sunny and a high of -12. At this hour in Moose Jaw, it's sunny, winds are calm and it's -29. Regina is also sunny, winds are from the southwest at 4 and it's -29 here as well. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sasktoday.ca.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McIntyre Street.
In curling, greatness isn't just handed out, it's earned, one throw at a time. This isn't just a moment on the ice. This is the moment of truth, where odds are defied and history is made.
Hard line! Clean!
A stone's throw from history. Experience it live at the 2025 BKT Tires World Men's Curling Championship, March 29th to April 6th at the Moose Jaw Event Center. Get your tickets now at curling.ca.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Sask Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sports, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The all-new Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The big news in Saskatchewan sports today, the Notre Dame Junior A Hounds of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League are moving. They are going to be moving to Warman for the 25-26 season. And in about 35 minutes time, we're going to be joined by Kyle McIntyre, who is the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, to talk about this on the show. Now, there was some rumors, there was some rumblings out there, but, you know, there's a lot of rumors and rumblings out there about a bunch of stuff, but it was announced earlier today. There are still some things that Warman has to do to clear the hurdles of the process to make it happen, but from everything that everybody has said is that won't be a problem. So the Notre Dame Junior A Hounds will be moving out of Wilcox, and they will be playing out of Warman. Now, when you look at the storied franchise and what Notre Dame was able to do in that Junior A program and the players that they have put through there, when you're at the Dunk McNeil Arena, when you see the players on the wall that just NHL players alone, let alone all the other sports that they've put out through the rest of the world, the names, the Brindamores, the Clarks, Barry Trotz, the Nashville Predators. I'm wondering, as the news seeps out for the alumni of the Hounds, and we're hoping to be able to track some of these people down in the next little while to get their reaction, because that is a long-standing tradition. They are a hockey factory. There is no place with a richer hockey history in North America, maybe anywhere in the world, as far as schools goes, with the amount of people that they have put into the NHL. If they're not the best, I don't know who would be, but man, oh man. So yeah, Kyle McIntyre coming up in about 35 minutes time. There's an extreme cold warning in effect for the province. It's been around for the better part of a week. Minus 29 right now, feels like minus 39 with the wind chill. Tonight, our low will be minus 40. The wind chill will be over minus 50. Tomorrow, crazy extreme wind chills. But by Sunday, we should have sunshine and a high of plus 4. So if we can just stick to this, I will challenge anybody on the climate change argument today and global warming. I will fight you until my hands get cold, which will take about less than 10 seconds, and then we're going to be back inside discussing it like gentlemen. All right, let's do this. It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani.
The all-new Sports Cage and Coast to Coast with Arash Madani is brought to you by Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
Arash, I'm not sure where you're at. I know you're at the NBA All-Star Game, but are you dealing with minus 50 wind chills currently at the moment?
I have to tell you, Maz, after being at Super Bowl where it was plus 25, and when I was in San Francisco, it was, I want to say, like between plus 8 and plus 12. Listening to these temps really smacks you in the face again. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. It's one thing if it's for a day, but it's been 2.5 months solid of this, and it is.
It has.
It's a little depressing, but plus 4 by Sunday, tropical. There will be a shirtless dude somewhere on Just Bins by Sunday afternoon in the back of a pickup truck going down Dewdney Avenue. Mark my word, because social media is undefeated. All right, before we get to the NBA All-Star Game, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I saw this earlier today, and I'm like, oh, okay, because this is, here's the quote. They had their numbers. I had my numbers. No deal to be had. Blue Jay fans love Vlad Guerrero Jr. Are you telling me that Vlad Guerrero Jr. does not love us back as much as we love him?
Oh, no. This is not on Vlad.
No?
This is not on Vlad at all. This is a front office that was willing to spend $700 million on Shohei Ohtani. It was willing to go down to the wire with Juan Soto before Soto got $750 million with the Mets. This is a front office that from the jump, Maz, has never valued Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for what he is. They got into a fight in arbitration with him last year over $1 million. The face of the franchise. This is a front office that last year at the end of the season, the president, Mark Shapiro, was asked, is Vlad a generational player? He said, I don't know what a generational player means. Right. And what this front office has never cared to understand is how this market works. They're so hell-bent on sticking to their khakis and their pocket protectors and their calculators and their analytics. They have no comprehension what the name Guerrero means in this country with baseball. The fact that Vlad Jr.'s father was an icon with the Expos. The fact that he arrived, the son, like I covered that for his debut, Maz. On Sportsnet, we broadcast his first batting practice live. I can't remember a prospect that's come up with this kind of fanfare, and yet to them, he's just another dude on the roster. It is. You're in the customer service business, and you don't understand what your most valuable asset is. It has been incredible asset mismanagement yet again by this same front office.
It's been very hard in the past 72 hours on X to get a tweet in edgewise. But I was able to see one fire Atkins earlier today. So they're still out there. There are people. See, here's who I feel bad for. My brother-in-law, Greg, and my sister, Marilyn, live in Regina. traveled last year to Toronto to see the Blue Jays. My brother Wayne and his wife Karen, Saskatoon, they make a pilgrimage to Toronto to buy the premium seats. The suckers, they bought the premium seats to sit down low, and they fly there to go see 3 games because they're spending hard-earned money. And if you're the Blue Jays, I don't necessarily know where you're just going to go out and be able to buy another player like this. Because if I am Juan Soto,
let me stop you. They have showed in the last 3 years that they haven't been able to. Like they've tried to go after guys, go after free agents, and not just the Sotos and Otanis, the Corbin Burnses of the world, the Pete Alonsos of the world. They're like free agents have freedom to choose where they want to sign, and they've shown that they're not going to here. Go on.
Even like I said, even with all the craziness in California and their tax system, and you'll get guys going, no, I'd much rather be in LA because it's LA than Toronto, or I'd much rather be anywhere but. So you have a talent like this that you could keep, that you don't have to grow. You already have them. You don't have to give up 4 first-round picks and some assets or whatever. It's just money. And did you say that they're the 7th highest spending team payroll-wise in baseball anyways? So what is the deal?
What is the deal? They're number 2 in the American League. They're hell-bent on doing it their way being in air quotes. But I think, Maz, if you look at the pattern that's happened here since this front office has taken over, it's been very consistent in asset mismanagement. And this is what I mean by this. They come in at the end of the 2015 season, division champions, sold out crowd, places going nuts, with the MVP of the American League in Josh Donaldson. You know what? Then they decided at the end of 16, we're going to tear this thing down and rebuild. Okay, fine. That's your prerogative. But you have the MVP. What did they end up getting for him? A middle reliever named Julian Merriweather that they kept around for years and years because they were hell-bent that Merriweather was going to be their star reliever. It didn't work. They had Marcus Stroman, number 2-ish, maybe number 3 pitcher in the rotation for a few years. What they get for him? Simeon Woods Richardson, Anthony Kay, and a partridge in a pear tree. Like, they have had no ability to, with what you have, make something of it, to get something for it. And now you have this. And when they arrived, they also said, well, the farm system's in tatters. Wait till we have wafts and wafts of talent. By any evaluation, by any measure, they're now the bottom 3 farm system in all of baseball. So you don't have, and now you have Guerrero, a homegrown talent, and this is the way you're doing it. This is the way you're doing it. It's bizarre.
So how much longer, if I'm a frustrated Blue Jays, it's funny, I could tell by the passion in your voice. If I'm a frustrated Blue Jays fan like you, how much longer does this front office have before the higher ups at Rogers, whoever makes says, all right, that's it, you got to go. Like this is not working. You guys are out.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to the question. Mark Shapiro is on an expiring deal. He's up at the end of the year. Ross Atkins has 1 more year after that. The manager, John Schneider's tied into them. But also you have coming up on the books, Chris Bassett, one of your important starters. He's up at the end of the year. Kevin Gausman only has a season left after that. The organization is not in strong shape right now. And this, forgive me, I miss you mentioned the names of your relatives and friends who keep going to Toronto for games. The reason why this has worked so far is because Aunt Marilyn and cousin Greg and brother-in-law Johnny continue to go to the ballpark. The Blue Jays have been a profitable business. It has reached the point in this market where there is outward disdain for what is going on here. You had Guerrero and Bichette as cornerstone pieces of this franchise, and now both are about to hit free agency, and there's nothing to suggest that either are going to stay. What are you selling? You're coming off a 74-win season where you were in last place. Throughout your entire 10-year regime, you have not won a playoff game. What are you doing here?
Yeah, in a normal business world situation, you would have been fired a long time ago because you wouldn't have been hitting your metrics or your budgets, as they would say, and it would be like, all right, well, time to move on.
Well,
but
except you're making money. Except people are showing up to the ballpark. Yeah. Except you made a $300 million renovation, and that, so I'm not saying, it's all been a disaster, but it's been great that you have a new spring training facility. It's great that you've done some renovations. But at some point, you got to win a ball game.
Yeah. Well, and for Shapiro and Atkins, championships on resumes, if you're a sports executive, is what eventually gets looked at. Yes, there are owners that do. Obviously, they all want to make money. But if you can produce a winner, like that right there, and I don't necessarily know that you'd get a 10-year window, because dollars to donuts, if they do get replaced, whoever is coming in, I doubt that they would get 10 years, the next crew, to kind of turn this thing around. Because you would probably have to give them in the job interview a 4 to 5 year plan of how it shows the Toronto Blue Jays being World Series champions. And here's what it's going to take. And they would buy on that stock. All right. So you were covering the NBA All-Star game on the weekend, which was in San Francisco. Yeah. And it was funny on Sunday listening to American Sports Talk Radio, because I wanted to see, and we'll get to the hockey game in a second, how much or if any coverage Patriotism Day got. I listened for about 2 hours, and for an hour and 50-some minutes, it was about LeBron James not participating, and how out of three hours of coverage, there was 33 minutes of actual basketball-ish type activity going on. And it wasn't necessarily the most fan-friendly viewing event that the NBA has ever put on. What's your take?
Well, my take is it was confusing. It was empty. It was bizarre. And it's broken. So when you have players outward, we need to change the mat altogether. That's a problem. I'm not sure if you still have me, Maz. I mean, you had guys, at one point you had guys just saying, okay, next year, why don't we just make this a game of one-on-one against each other? What? The players are disgusted with what's happening. The players are at wit's end by what this is. Giannis, though, on Sunday came out with a suggestion, and I'm all for this, that actually would put some pride on the line in an event that's basically had none of it for 2 generations now. Let's make this USA versus the world. It's not going to be an Olympics, but Canada's got Shea and Murray. You have Nikola Jokic. You have Giannis. You have Wemby. You have so many players from so many different countries. As we're seeing, as we're reminded, people like suiting up for the U.S. More than that, people like beating the U.S. Maybe that's the way. You're not going to get a playoff-like competition, but that can be something to inject a little oomph into it. And I'm telling you, Maz, if the league doesn't listen to its players, if they continue to run out whatever that was on the weekend, this brand's going to diminish even further, which is hard to even contemplate that being possible, but it's reality because of just how bad it is.
One of the best tweets I saw is, hey, NBA, don't worry about trying to get your all-star weekend right. Try getting your regular season right. As far as the product on the court. So on Saturday, and maybe you were at you're covering that event. How did this go down for you, where all of a sudden the hockey world is just unfolding and melting down, and social media is melting down right along with it when the Canada-US thing happens? Are you catching this on your phone? How is this happening? Were you able to catch any of this live, or how is this information being relayed to you?
No, I watched TV. This is
okay.
Let me just tell you the relevance of this event in the U.S. That
I think he set us up for a big dramatic pause there. Did we lose Arash? Oh, there we are. He's back.
Are we there?
There
yes,
we are.
There we go.
We're there. Yeah.
So they advertised that the game was going to be on ABC.
Yes.
And it wasn't on ABC. World News Tonight
was on ESPN, right? Yeah.
ESPN had college basketball and ESPN Deportes had the game. So watch the game up on the screen on ESPN Deportes, which again, that shows you kind of where the hockey kind of situation is in the U.S., even for Canada versus U.S. And I'm like, okay, well, gentlemen, start your brain damage. It's 9 game. It's funny. I want to word this properly. These guys have come out and said playing for their country means as anything else. And I get it. I think that's awesome. Why is there a need? Just out of curiosity, wondering aloud. Why is, if it means so much to you, why do we have to smash each other in the face with our fists? I'm just curious. Like, what do you gain more joy at? Winning or that? Scoring a goal or that? I just wonder. Like, we used to smoke indoors. We used to smoke on planes. And then we realized, oh, wait a minute. It's not good for us. Now we know that repeated blows to the head, chronic brain injury. And yet we continue to do it because that's what's going to get us fired up. Anyway, that's my...
Well, there's a good portion of the Sportscage audience, Arash, that is smoking in the cab of a truck right now with the windows rolled up going, yeah, amen, brother. I love the smoking. Let's keep that going. Let's never like fighting, ever be out of hockey. And I think they're like, if it was about setting the tone, the Tkachuk brothers and then TJ Miller, they set the tone. And once they got down to hockey, the Americans did a whole bunch to frustrate the Canadians outside of a beautiful Connor McDavid goal. And there's speed to burn. They were able to play a very frustrating style against the Canadians. Now, no Cale Makar, a little bit of injury bug. Yesterday's game seemed inconsequential because I don't know how you top Saturday. Everybody now is waiting until Thursday. I think there'll be none of the shenanigans because the game is too important and you can't risk an extra 2 minutes here, let alone if there was an extra 5 or something like that, that no one's going to risk that. And I think they're going to get down and just play hockey. But I think with Cale Makar back in the lineup, that obviously changes things for Team Canada. And with no Charlie McAvoy for the States, because he's been admitted to hospital and they said that he's not going to play, I think we're going to get a truer representation of this best on best.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yep, Quinn Hughes now. Quinn Hughes team comes now. Enter stage right. Oh my God, it's the Undertaker coming out of the tunnel. Like this made up event with no rules on construction. Now us is saying to weren't around or
I think we'll have to we'll cut it there. I think Arash has got a bad internet connection today. Maybe not just today, but today facility. I'm going to blame climate change on that and the extreme cold warning here in southern Saskatchewan. It's minus 29, minus 39 with torrential. Actually, we can we'll just wrap here. We're going to take a break. That's Coast to Coast with Arash Madani, brought to you by Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533. The big news today in hockey, not necessarily the Four Nations Cup, a little closer to home. The Notre Dame Junior A Hounds of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League are moving to Warman. They'll be playing out of Warman to start the 25-26 season. Kyle McIntyre, Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League president and commissioner, will be on the show next to talk all about it. This is the Sports Cage. We're streaming on X and on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Proven by countless farmers, 900 Series fence sprayers set the standard for your crops, and it's available at Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Featuring 370 horsepower, 132-foot boom, 1,580-gallon tank, smart drive 4-wheel steering, and liquid logic recirculating boom, the 900 Series fence sprayers are backed by a 3-year, 2,000-hour Gold Star warranty. Leaders drive Fendt. To learn more about making your crops successful, visit Nick's Service today, nickservice.com.
620 CKRM is your home to country's greatest hits and the 90s at 9. 1 full hour featuring the biggest hits of the 90s. Garth, Reba, Alan, Shania, George, and so much more. No cassette tape or CDs required, and 90s mullets are optional. 90s at 9 for the town of Wolseley and the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM.
Hospitals of Regina Foundation Home Lottery Greece VIP prize deadline is midnight Friday. What if it's your time to take a stunning cruise through Greece for 7 nights or pocket $20,000? Plus, you'll be in to win the Lexus and Bahamas bonus prize, the Corvette Stingray early bird prize, and the $1.6 million grand prize show home built by Ripplinger Homes, plus $50,000. VIP deadline midnight Friday. Buy now at hrfhomelottery.com.
Pizza! Where's it from?
Kids, it's not delivery, it's...
No, it's definitely delivery. It's from Western Pizza. Mama's had a long day, so she ordered online, poured a glass of Happy, put her feet up, and waited for the doorbell. There's also Caesar salad, lasagna, chicken wings. Oh, I got lots, so we can have the leftovers tomorrow and the next day. Western Pizza. Big on toppings, big on taste, big on convenience. Get it delivered today.
Olympic Buildings is looking for post-frame building crews to construct their post-frame buildings. This can be from any part of the province, and they'll pay better than industry average. To talk about getting your company to construct their buildings, visit olympic-buildings.ca.
All-new Sports Cage continues. You can watch our live stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio. Saskatchewan's voice for local sports, 620 CKRM.
Still to come on the show, Ryan Pinder will join us just after 5. He's part of Barn Burner, which you can catch every day on YouTube and on X. They're part of Flamesnation. We'll get his take on what happened on Saturday in Montreal at the Bell Center. And then what do the Calgary Flames do going forward? Because they're kind of in the murky middle as far as they were supposed to be tanking this year to get a high draft pick as they're doing the hybrid rebuild, rebrand, retool. So we'll catch Ryan's perspective here just after 5. The all-new Sports Cage is brought to you by Sask Lotteries, bringing communities together. Saskatchewan Lottery Products fund over 12,000 sports, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. The announcement was made earlier this morning that the Notre Dame Junior A Hounds of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League will be moving and be playing out of Warman to start next year. They're relocating. Kyle McIntyre, president of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey, he's the commissioner of the Junior Hockey League. He's joining us now. Kyle, thanks for doing this. Welcome to the show. And can you walk us through, because when an announcement like this happens, there's obviously a lot that goes into this. When did this start? Potentially the process of Notre Dame thinking of moving and then eventually in Warman?
Well, good afternoon, Mass. Really, there's a couple narratives that were going on simultaneously in the background, and so just bear with me, and I'll give you a bit of a history on it. So,
sure.
Cole Catcher, who is part of the Warman ownership group, the new franchisee, he had approached the SJHL board about a year ago, and myself about a year ago, with an interest in having an expansion team as part of the SJHL. And of course, he made some overtures to the Board of Governors. And at the time that we received his application, we weren't necessarily interested in expanding the league. We felt we had 12 viable communities. We were compact. We were a little bit worried about expanding and diluting the talent pool. So we really weren't interested in entertaining an expansion franchise. At the same time, Notre Dame's president, Rob Palmerine, had retired, and they hired a new CEO, new president, Dr. Charles Skipper. And so from the board of directors from Notre Dame, Dr. Skipper was charged with doing a bit of an assessment of the current programming at Notre Dame Collegiate. And the board and Charles decided they wanted to take the school in a new direction, and they really want to make it a multi-sport academic residential school. And really, when they started to assess current programming, there wasn't really a place or a space for junior A hockey. Lots of things have happened over the years in terms of who is eligible to play junior hockey in Saskatchewan and in Canada. And so let's just say that the players who have been playing for the Notre Dame Hounds the last several years have had a very tenuous connection with the school. None of those kids attend school. They really weren't part of the school. And I think really when the board of directors and Dr. Skipper looked at it, I think they were really struggling with the player experience and really struggling with how 20 students out of 300 some students were gaining probably an inordinate amount of resources to operate a hockey team. As we know, running a junior hockey team is not a profitable endeavor. Probably takes about $800,000 a year to run a program and to do a good job of it with the player experience at the forefront. And so I think that the board of directors and Dr. Skipper were having some conversations. Cole was having some conversations, and probably in the last 3 months, the two parties kind of connected with one another and started to have some discussions. And then I was brought into it by Director of Hockey Development, Wade Klippenstein, and Dr. Skipper, and they started asking a bunch of questions about the SJHL and viability of the team and what were some options for the team. And so my role was to give them some information. And I think ultimately the Board of Governors decided that they were not planning on operating in the SJHL for the 25-26 season. And so then they connected with Cole and John, the group representing Warman. They started to have some conversations. They started talking about transferring the franchise, assuming debt, and purchasing the franchise. And then that information was taken back to our Board of Governors probably in early February, and we had a lengthy discussion about Notre Dame's future and about the potential to go to Warman. And certainly the governors had some conditions for that relocation to be approved. And some of those conditions are still going to have to be met. But probably one of the biggest ones is going to be approval from City Council and the City of Warman. So I think ideally it's bittersweet for us. Anytime you lose a historical franchise of over 38 years with such a rich history and a rich array of people that have gone through the program, it's certainly bittersweet. And I don't want anyone thinking that the SJHL forced this. I mean, certainly we want what's best for our players and really respect any decisions that were made by the college and the board of directors and kind of understand where they're going in terms of their new vision for the school and some of the program choices. And certainly I think it was just fortuitous or serendipity that both the Warman Group and the Notre Dame got together. And the way that we would see it, Maz, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the College of Notre Dame. It's a win for the community of Warman, and it's a win for the SJHL.
Kyle McIntyre, Commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, joining us on the Sportscage here on the Western Pizza guest hotline. You mentioned the rich tradition of Notre Dame, not only for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but for just hockey in general. Do you ever think there will ever be another team, institution, school, whatever you want to call it, that will ever rival what they've been able to do as far as putting players into the pros?
Well, you know, back in the day when I played AAA midget, when it was called midget in Saskatchewan, I mean, it was kind of a who's who of hockey that played with that program, like both Courtnall brothers, Grant Jennings, Wendell Clark. I mean, certainly had a strong pedigree and a strong stable of players. And really back probably 40 years ago, St. Mary Shattuck, Notre Dame Collegiate, and St. Michael's out of the East were really the only three schools that offered a residential hockey experience. And now the landscape in hockey has changed so much in the last 10 or 15 years. There's hockey academies everywhere. And I think that probably for a while, Notre Dame We're going to try to be a hockey academy, and maybe got away from some of the stuff they did traditionally, because as long as I've known about Notre Dame or been associated with Notre Dame, it was always a multi-sport school that encouraged all of its students to play multiple sports in the different sporting seasons. And so I almost feel like, I don't want to speak for the board, but I almost feel like that's what they want to get back to again. They want to get back to, having a residential school, maybe focusing on international kids, offering those kids a multi-sport experience. And can't say I disagree with that. When you think about it, if I'm a steward, if I'm a board, and I'm looking at a finite amount of resources for a program, and I see that one particular program is using an inordinate amount of resources, I'm probably making a decision where I can deploy those resources for the majority of kids. And so I think really that was kind of the rationale. But, you think about Notre Dame, you think about the 1988 team, won the Anavet Cup. They won the Centennial Cup. They had Curtis Joseph. They had Rod Brindamore. They had Barry McKenzie at the helm. And then you think of some of the other players that have gone through the program. Brad Richards played in the SJHL. Jaden Swartz played in the SJHL. So they've had a lot of boys and girls who have gone through that program, who have gone on to very successful careers outside of hockey. And so I do think that it's an exciting future for Notre Dame, and I still think that they're going to have a positive impact on kids and on sport and on the province. And their legacy is one that we're certainly going to try to acknowledge as a league, probably for the remainder of this season and probably culminating with their last game at the end of March.
Before we move on to Worm, and I have some questions about that, what has been the reaction since the announcement today, just for you personally? Because I'm assuming people are calling and texting, and maybe to hockey insiders, this was known information, but for a lot of us today, this announcement is a bit of a shock that a pillar in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League is moving, and that pillar is Notre Dame.
Yeah. For me personally, it's been a really busy day, Maz. Lots of emails, lots of texts, lots of media requests. And again, you know what? We're being full transparency here. I mean, this has been probably conversations have been occurring for about the last 3 months about this. But when we started this season, it was not even a remote possibility. Like, we always assumed that Notre Dame was solvent and they were going to continue to offer a full slate of hockey, including Junior A. And so again, we just kind of got involved in it and kind of reacted and started to have some conversations, and became pretty clear that the college and the board of directors wanted to move a different direction. And at that point, we just kind of connected the parties and they started to have some discussions. And so I think it is truly bittersweet. I mean, I know a lot of the alumni or a lot of young men who went through that program certainly will have very positive experiences and memories and friendships from teammates that they made over the years. I think for people that are in the hockey world, I think they say, whoa, you know what, shocking, but not surprising, given some of the things that have been occurring in hockey. And I mean, let's be honest, like, Warman is probably, it was Canada's fastest growing community from about 2016 to 2019. It is Saskatchewan's fastest growing community. They have a state-of-the-art facility. They have one of the largest minor hockey programs in Saskatchewan. A number of kids from that area are playing currently in both the Western Hockey League and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So really, it's a hotbed, and I think that the community is ready to embrace SJHL hockey.
So you'd mentioned city councils got to vote, and city councils do what city councils do. Tell us about hockey. What is the rink like? What's the capacity? How new is it? Like, what are the players potentially in the facilities that they're going to be stepping into there, as far as what Warman has to offer?
Yeah, so the facility it's a very nice facility. It probably seats almost 1,800 fans in its present state, has seats on both sides. It is a multi-sport complex, and so not only do they have a hockey rink, they have full indoor gymnasiums for soccer and basketball and volleyball. It's connected to a school. The city of Warman is currently building another rink on the other end of it. It's a world-class facility. We've been holding our SJHL showcase there for about the last 6 or 7 years, and we always have an incredible turnout. We have lots of interest, lots of supports when we go to Warman, and it would be among probably the nicest facilities in our league if they come on board like we think they might. And the kids are going to get an incredible player experience. Not only is it a vibrant community, but it's a community where people are passionate about hockey, and I know that the young men who will be going to Warman are going to be positive ambassadors for the team and good role models for boys and girls, and it's going to be a real win-win. It's going to be a great experience. It's a beautiful facility. It's a great little community. There's lots of stuff going. There's a real positive hum or vibe in Warman, and so I really think this is going to be a really solid and long-lasting marriage.
Before we get to, I want to ask you about the league and what's going on this year. Will there be a name change once they move to Warman?
Well, I mean, that's to be determined. I would assume there's probably going to be. I mean, that's going to be up to the new owners in the community. I know that they've thrown about a couple monikers, but I don't think they've landed on any. But I mean, we're going to really try to do a good job of identifying and recognizing the rich traditions of the Notre Dame, how that the new co-founders will also well. So we're not going to forget where they came from, but I think that for the purposes of the rebranding, I think they're probably going to be either a Wildcat or a Wolverine or something to that extent.
All right. How proud are you of the product that you and a whole group of people have put on the ice this year in Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League? I'm trying to remember. This is some of the best hockey that has been played in a long time. What, from where you sit in your perspective, what's your takeaway?
Well, oh boy, what parity. I mean, we always say we have lots of parity in the league, but I don't know if we've seen it any closer this year, Maz, than we've ever seen it. And so Melfort, of course, the reigning Cantera Seeds Cups, they're in first place champions. They've had a great year. They're off to a great run. Flin Flon got off to a slow start. They're right on their heels. At one point, they had 22 games without a loss in regulation time. So they're super hot. Yorkton, they got a super good team. They probably have the most goals of any team in our league. And then you got Weyburn that's sitting in the 3 spot right now, and they got a real wagon that is probably one of the fastest teams in the league. So those top 4 teams are solidly entrenched. And then from 5 to 10, it is an absolute dogfight. Probably less than 10 games left, 8 or 9 games left. All those games are 4-point games. Anyone can win on any given night. And so it's going to be super interesting down the stretch just to see where everyone finishes. I think we might see some good traditional geographic rivalries in the first round. Like if Yorkton Melville finished at 4-5, like what an epic battle that'll be for Highway 10. I think that's going to be super exciting. And again, I'm not saying that no one is crowning Melfort or Flin Flon champions. I think there's lots of teams in that top 10 that have the ability to win or have the ability to upset one of those teams. So from a commissioner standpoint, from a board of governors standpoint, from a fan standpoint, the hockey is unbelievable. It's super competitive. It's fast. It's fun to watch. If you're a coach, you probably have as much hair as you and I have. It's probably super frustrating, It's crazy. I mean, doesn't matter what you do. I mean, every night it's a battle, and anyone can win on any given night.
I think the gentleman, the Flin Flon Bombers play-by-play guy, I believe his name is Rob Hart. He said he's done over 1,000 games, and he said a bus ride from Flin Flon to Estevan is 11 hours. I would love to. How many kilometers so far have you put on this season?
Well, this year I've probably put on close to 30, Maz. Typically, by the time playoffs play out, probably somewhere between 45 and 60. Last year I put on close to 60, and probably near the end I had a lot of trips to Flin Flon that I did not anticipate. We had some league awards winners with Flin Flon near the end of the year. I kind of thought I'd be there maybe for one round of playoffs, and then lo and behold, they're in the final. And so Jacob Faith, my director of marketing, and I put a lot of windshield time in last year, and a lot of it going to Flin Flon. But I mean, that's part of the fun of it. I mean, I'm trying to get Barney to go up there because he has never been to Flin Flon. And the rink itself, it's part cathedral, it's part museum, it's part madhouse. It's probably one of those rinks in junior hockey that you just have to be in playoffs. Like, it really epitomizes small town Canadian playoff junior A hockey. Like, it's absolutely incredible. It's a shrine. Great to be there. But I think this year, any of the teams that are in the HUD, our attendance has been awesome. We're probably averaging between 800 and 900 people in most of our rinks. Some of our rinks, like Yorkton's averaging 1,200 fans a game. Melville is around 1,100 a game. Humboldt is around 1,100 a game. Melfort about 900. Flin Flon 900. So some of those teams that are in the upper echelon, you know, when playoff time comes, they're going to be packed houses, and people are going to be supporting their teams.
I know, it's like it is. If Yorkton and Melville end up playing in the first round, it's kind of like you're going into enemy territory, you know, to fly the flag and support the colors and to do all that, and you're hoping A, your team wins, and B, somebody from the team you're cheering for wins the 50-50. That's how you get even with the other team, is you go in and you win the game and you win their 50-50.
What's really going to be interesting is what is Benny Walchuk going to do? Like, I
know.
He's got divided allegiance, but I think I know when push comes to shove who he's supporting. And so it'll be really interesting to see whether he actually wears his heart on his sleeve.
Well, we've got Benny coming up in about an hour's time. So that's going to be my very first question. All right, before we go any further, Benny, you got to tell us who you're cheering for personally here out of this debate. And there's no winners when he gives the answer. There are no winners when he gives that answer. We can just let him tap dance. Kyle, we appreciate the time. It's an incredibly busy day. I'm sure you have more interviews to get to here. It's Kyle McIntyre, the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, breaking down the news of the Notre Dame Junior A Hounds. They are being relocated to Warman to start the 25-26 season. If you missed any part of this interview, you can catch the podcast on our website at sportscage.com. We will take a break, and when we come back, some midget triple hockey action tonight, some Prairie Junior hockey action, and it was a busy weekend in the Western Hockey League with 10 games yesterday for Family Day. We'll recap that next. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.
0% financing or instant discount. The decision is yours to make at Future Ford in Melville. Right now, you can get into a brand new 2024 Ford F-150 and get 0% financing up to 72 months or get $8,000 off the price. Plus, as a bonus from Future Ford, they're throwing in free oil changes. If a new truck doesn't fit your lifestyle or needs, no problem. Get 0% financing for up to 60 months on select Escape, Bronco Sport, Mustang Mach-E, and more. Check out their website, futureford.ca, and see their great selection today. The future is Future Ford in Melville.
The 28th Annual Willow Bunch Golf Club Auto Lotto Grand Prize is $50,000 cash or $60,000 Lotto cash towards a new vehicle from Nelson GM. Second prize is $10,000 cash or $14,000 Lotto cash towards a recreational vehicle from E. Barassa & Sons. Plus 3 subsidiary draws for $2,500 each. Tickets are only $50 each. Only 3,200 tickets sold. Don't forget to add on your 50/50 tickets. Deadline's this Saturday. Purchase your Auto Lotto tickets by calling 1-866-729-3478.
For everything hockey, head to Extreme Hockey and Sports. Spring hockey is around the corner. Get fitted to your specs with the best team at Extreme Hockey. Be sure to check out Umbrella Marketing and Tarrington and his team for all your team, corporate, and business needs. Corporate or work event? Check out our custom Yeti and engraving options. Make any occasion a special one. Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street, and the Pro Shop conveniently located at the Cooperator Center.
The all-new Sports Cage is live streaming from our Century Studios in downtown Regina. Watch now at sportscage.com. Be part of the show by texting 306-936-6262. 620 CKRM.
Hey, don't forget, it's Pasta Thursdays at the Canadian Brew House. They've got pasta on sale for $11.99. You can choose such delicious flavors like basil chicken penne, Alberta Wagyu ravioli, creamy grilled chicken Alfredo, and their triple play mac and cheese for just $11.99 on Thursdays. And also 50% more wine. You can get a 9-ounce glass of wine for the price of a 6-ounce at the Canadian Brew House. 2 locations in Regina and 1 in Moose Jaw. It's a Maz in for Barney today. He's on vacation this week. With it being holiday, with Family Day yesterday being a holiday, there was 10 games in the Western Hockey League. PA beat Moose Jaw 8-2. Medicine Hat beat Lethbridge 5-1. And I think that was a bit of a proving ground game. Medicine Hat is first place in the Western Hockey League in the Eastern Division. And Lethbridge, like I said, I think a lot of this, if this rolls out the way we think, it's rolling through Medicine Hat. And Lethbridge, that's a team that they're going to have to beat. Well, that didn't happen yesterday. Edmonton beat Red Deer 5-2. Spokane beat Kamloops 4-2. Brandon beat Saskatoon 6-3. Vancouver beat Prince George 7-2. Tri-City beat Kelowna 3-2. Portland beat Seattle 4-3. Everett beat Victoria 3-2. And Calgary beat Swift Current 5-2. Those same hitmen are here tomorrow night to take on the Pats. And we'll have that game right here on 620 CKRM, starting with the pregame show at 6:30. Dante DeCaria will have play-by-play at 7 o'clock. Eastern Conference standings, Medicine Hat 78 points. Calgary 73, Lethbridge 71, and the Prince Albert Raiders playing some great hockey as of late. They're going to be probably the hottest team going into the playoffs. 66 points. Medicine Hat so far in the East Division is clinched. Over in the West, Everett with 85 points, Spokane with 76, Victoria 73. Everett, Spokane, and Victoria have clinched playoff spots. One game in Saskatchewan Midget AAA hockey last night, the Warm Wildcats, we're going to be the new home of the Notre Dame Hounds, as we just heard, in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, beat the PA Mintos 7-4. There's 2 games tonight, Saskatoon Contacts at Notre Dame. And the Tisdale Trojans are in town to take on the Regina Pats Canadians, 7 o'clock at the Cooperators 6. And the big news today, Ryan Keller named head coach and GM of the Contacts starting next season. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Ryan Pinder of Barn Burner, it's part of Flamesnation.com, will join us to talk about the Four Nations Cup and what we can expect Thursday from what we saw on Saturday. And what do the Flames do going forward? Are they buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? We'll get into that next. It's the all-new Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
It's the start of a new year. Time to get financially fit. If you're looking to open an RRSP or a TFSA, maximize an existing account, or update your investment mix, Cooperators can provide the personalized advice and service you need. Want to start the new year on the right financial foot? Contact your local advisor to build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
This is Country Gold with Steve Harmon, your home for the country hits of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Hello, I'm Steve Harmon, inviting you to join me for Country Gold. Each week we play country favorites from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and we check in with the stars who made them, too. This weekend on Country Gold.
Country Gold, brought to you by Trent Dickin and his experienced team at Flooring Superstore. Saturday mornings at 6 and Sunday afternoons at 4 on the Voice of Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
Hun, I'm starving. What do we have to eat?
Avoid the annoyed.
Western pizza. I really don't feel like cooking today.
Avoid the annoyed.
Western pizza.
I want lasagna.
I was thinking Caesar salad and garlic bread.
I had my heart set on chicken wings.
Avoid the annoyed.
Western pizza.
Avoid the annoyed with Western Pizza. Big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or take out. Order today.
Western pizza.
The Sask Sport Athlete of the Month Award celebrates outstanding performances in a given month by a Saskatchewan athlete or team. Recent Athlete of the Month recipients include Jonathan Podbielski, who claimed the University of Regina Cougars' first youth sports cross-country championship medal in over 10 years. After his performance at the 2024 IWWF Water Ski Pan American Championship, Enzo Christian claimed 5 medals and was awarded October Athlete of the Month. And in September, para swimmer Shelby Newkirk and paracyclist Keely Shaw claimed bronze in their respective sports at the Paralympic Games to share Athlete of the Month honors. Learn more about each of the recipients and how to nominate an athlete or team in your community at sasksport.ca. Sask Sports Athlete of the Month program is supported by Sask Lotteries, the main fundraiser for more than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation organizations.
Country Corner is brought to you by Coast to Coast Collector Car Auctions. Learn more at coasttocoastauctionssk.ca.
Support the Lipton Community Daycare Corp with their Fish Fry fundraiser, Saturday, February 22nd, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Lipton Skating Rink. Only $15. Place your order by calling Joy, 306-331-9225. The Fort Winter Festival is back February 28th to March 2nd in Fort Qu'Appelle. The festival is packed with uphill drags, the polar bear dip, Sask drift, horse-drawn carriage rides, and much more. Full event details at fortwinterfestival.com. Experience an evening in Greece in support of the Hospitals of Regina Foundation, Saturday, March 8th at the Delta Hotel. Authentic Greek cuisine, vibrant music, dancing, and more. Check out An Evening in Greece on Facebook. And spend your Saturdays with the Symphony. The Regina Symphony Orchestra has exciting and fun events planned over the coming months. Explore the full concert list at reginasymphony.com.
For more information, visit 620ckrm.com. We are 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station.
It's 5 o'clock. Good evening. It's mostly clear and it's minus 28 in Regina. I'm Corey Atkinson from the sasktoday.ca newsroom with 620 CKRM News for Echo Sound and Fort Qu'Appelle. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound. Call 306-332-6711. The Saskatchewan Legislative Assembly's spring sitting will begin on March 19th, with the government set to introduce the 2025-26 provincial budget. Premier Scott Moe says the session will focus on key issues like healthcare, community safety, and education. He also highlighted efforts to strengthen Saskatchewan's economy and protect jobs from potential trade challenges. Moe added that his government will continue working to expand trade relationships with the United States and other markets. The budget is expected to outline the province's financial priorities for the coming year. Dillon RCMP are investigating a suspicious death after officers responded to a report of an injured man at a home in Dillon, Saskatchewan. Police arrived at about 4:30 p.m. on Monday and found the man, who was later pronounced dead, at the scene. Saskatchewan RCMP Major Crimes is leading the investigation. Officers remain in the community and ask residents to follow any police instructions. Anyone with any information is asked to call RCMP at 310-RCMP or submit a tip anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Police say updates will be provided as more details become available. Some Saskatchewan drivers insist they weren't speeding when they were issued photo radar tickets at a construction zone south of Regina at the end of November. Mike Owens believes that he was going the speed limit and got responses from 70 other drivers when he posted a note about it at a Highway Conditions webpage. Tracy DeJersey was also ticketed and says the tickets are the talk of her community. Motorists say the province has told them their only recourse is to fight the tickets in court. Transportation Safety Board officials and U.S. Federal Aviation Administration investigators are on the scene of yesterday's plane crash at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Toronto Pearson President and CEO Deborah Flint says they won't speculate on the cause of the crash as the investigation is ongoing.
We do expect that the investigators on site will be reviewing the aircraft on its current configuration on the runway for the next 48 hours. And we are looking to get to support that investigation and the removal of that aircraft off the runway, at which point we can do our inspections and then return that runway into service.
All 76 passengers and 4 crew members aboard the Delta Airlines regional flight survived the crash, and most of the passengers taken to hospital have since been released. And an Oscar-winning actress who grew up on U.S. military installations says her children's book has been banned in the country.
Julianne Moore told children at the 2012 White House Easter egg roll that her children's book, Freckle-Faced Strawberry, about a girl with red hair and freckles, was partly autobiographical. It was her childhood nickname.
I thought that name was really embarrassing when I was 7. Now, I don't care so much.
Moore shared on Instagram that it was a, quote, great shock to learn her book was banned from Department of Defense-run schools. A department spokesman told the Washington Post these books are being reviewed pursuant to President Trump's executive orders. Brian Clark, ABC News.
It's 5:03, and that's your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Oh, finally. There it is.
Whoa, did you order pizza?
No, even better. I called Echo Sound, your SJHL authorized dealer.
Oh, so what'd you order?
Well, they have all the top-of-the-line smartphones with all the latest features and so many great plans, man.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it is the pizza guy. Hey, guy.
Tell him to go away. We're waiting on Echo Sound.
Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Fort Qu'Appelle. EchoSound.ca.
We'll still take the pizza, though.
All aboard? Me?
You bet.
At Twin Anchors, all their boats have a hot tub, fireplace, sun deck and slide, and so much more. Get into vacay mode. Take a dip in the lake, play some golf, lay on the beach, go for a hike.
Boat sleeps 2 to 28 people. Bring the whole family.
Come on, gang.
12 different styles to choose from. Visit twinanchors.com.
It's 5:04, and I'm Corey Atkinson with your 620 CKRM Precision Weather Forecast, brought to you by Linex Regina. Serious protection, killer looks, 1865 McIntyre Street, and for Matt's Furniture, visit mattsfurniture.ca. Now here's Precision Weather meteorologist Steve Adamson.
It's still going to be pretty cold through tomorrow, but we do see some temperature moderation on the way for the latter half of the week. So we will start to feel a little bit more comfortable as we're out and about. Tonight's forecast has mostly clear skies. It will be bitter cold, the low temperature near minus 40. The wind chill around minus 50. Wednesday, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures remain quite cold, the high near minus 23. Wednesday night, mostly clear skies and breezy. Quite cold, the low temperature near minus 27. The wind chill near minus 40. It won't be as cold on Thursday. It'll be breezy with a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover, the high reaching minus 12. And for Friday, moderating temperatures with a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover, the high near minus 1. Saturday, a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover with the high temperature right around 0. With your 620 CKRM weather forecast, I'm Precision Weather Meteorologist Steve Adamson.
Across the province at this hour, Saskatoon is minus 27, Swift Current minus 27, Assiniboia minus 28, Broadview Moosomin minus 26, Yorkton Melville minus 24, and Estevan and Weyburn are both minus 27. At this hour in Moose Jaw, it's mostly clear. Winds are from the east at 6 and it's minus 29. Regina is also mostly clear. Winds are from the southwest at 9 and it's minus 28. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sasktoday.ca.
He's at it again. Matt's sharpening his pencil to save you money at Matt's Furniture. Now till March 5th, save big with Whirlpool during the Kitchen Suite Savings Event. Buy any 2 qualifying Whirlpool kitchen appliances and save $100. Buy any 3 qualifying Whirlpool kitchen appliances and save an extra $300. See in store for all the details and full list of qualifying models during the Kitchen Suite Savings Event. Matt's Furniture in Fort Qu'Appelle, Kamsack, Melville, and Foam Lake, or online at mattsfurniture.ca.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McIntyre Street.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Sask Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sports, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The all-new Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
This week, you can always get us on the text line 306-936-6262 if you've got thoughts. The Notre Dame Hounds, this is the top story of the day, are being relocated. The Junior A Hockey Club being relocated to Warman. to start next season, the 25-26 season. We just had Kyle McIntyre, the commissioner of the league, on, if you missed any part of that conversation. And Kyle was very upfront about how all of this went down. There was no talk of this at the start of this year. But then things happened and conversations started and things progressed. You can check out the podcast, all neatly packaged together. You can get them at sportscage.com or on Apple or Spotify. The extreme cold warning is still in effect for pretty much all of Saskatchewan. Tonight, minus 40, with the wind chill at times up to minus 53. That's just gross. Like, there is nothing. There is no enough. You win. Uncle. Just please. Tomorrow, minus 24 for the high, which will seem tropical, but that wind chill is going to be a little crazy, to minus 45 at times. So you're going to have to watch for that. By Sunday, if all holds true, please, Environment Canada, make sure it's right. Your precision weather forecast, plus 4. Even if it's minus 10, it's still not minus 40. And we'll take that. Right now, it's minus 29 with the wind chill, feeling like it's minus 39. We're going to go football heavy tomorrow on the Sports Cage. So Glenn Suter, who's normally on Tuesdays and Thursdays, no Suits today. Suits is going to be on with us tomorrow. Now, if you missed last week, Glenn is going on basically like a once-in-a-lifetime trip, he said, with a school-aged friend, and they've been friends forever. And they're going to Europe, and they're going to not only be touring places like the Coliseum, but they're going to be going to war memorials. So we're going to catch up with Suits tomorrow right after 3 o'clock, if all goes well. Because what is there, about an 8 or 9 hour time difference? And I think they're going to be in Rome. So we'll talk to him then. Then at 3:30, Saskatchewan Roughrider head coach Corey Mace will join us. Now that free agency is done and this team is rounding into form, it'll be interesting. First of all, Coach Mace, how's your first winter, full winter in Regina? How much are you loving Rider Nation now? And you know what? How excited are you? Could we just go put the pads on now, like a lot of us, and get back to football? The Riders today signed Kerfala Exume, he's a DB and a special teams demon. He's played with the Alouettes, he's played with the Bombers and the Argonauts, and he's won Grey Cups with the Bombers and the Argos. And then tomorrow, at 5:05, Double Talk with Darian Durant, a special Wednesday edition. So we're football heavy. All right, let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline and say hi to our next guest. He's part of Boomer, Pinder, and Warner. They do Barn Burner. It's a show that you can stream on YouTube and on X. It's part of the Flamesnation.com network, and they do a hell of a job covering the Calgary Flames and the NHL. We welcome to the show Ryan Pinder.
How we doing?
Pinder, how are you?
Not
a problem.
I've got my dad's side of the family is from Saskatoon. I've got some good Sasky roots, half my blood Sasky, and nice to hear those overnight lows of minus 40, and also the Notre Dame Hounds news. I used to go to summer hockey camp in Notre Dame. So Warman, get ready, get excited, Warman, let's go.
I know, but look at that hockey history. You're going from Notre Dame. There'll never be a place ever, I don't think, that will produce as many NHL stars as Notre Dame did.
It was unique, right? What do they have? Like one, like a little convenience store, a gas station, and then a hockey factory. That was the town. End scene. Maybe a grain tower elevator. Yeah.
I know. It's nuts. Hey, thanks for taking the time to do this. We've had one of your co-hosts, Rhett Warner, Saskatchewan legend, on the show a couple of times. Some hot takes from Saturday's game. I am still caught up in awe, where I really didn't pay attention to what happened yesterday, because I don't think anything will top Saturday. Take us through Saturday for you from start to finish with the anthems and then onward. Man.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, this event, I've been really excited and a proponent of getting best on best back. But whether it was the delivery or just human nature, because it's like, the pools aren't done in Athens yet. Rio's going to be a dump. Sochi, they're going to be sleeping on the floors. Like the Olympics, it's like you need to get there. You need to see your country. You need to hear the anthems, and then you're in. And then it's like, okay, I thought this was going to suck. I was going to boycott the IOC because they're jerks, but screw all that. Let's go. It's table tennis, Canada against South Korea. I'm in. Like, let's go. It's whatever. Like, it's the Olympics, we get in. And my thought was, I understand my co-hosts weren't excited. A lot of people I talked to are like, this is fabricated. It means nothing. Nobody cares. I was like, yeah, but wait till it starts. because the players care. And especially now in an NHL where you have very close to similar numbers of Americans and Canadians on almost every team, in the sense that it's not a vast majority of Canadians and a couple of Americans sprinkled in. There's a healthy amount of both. I feel like the bragging rights for who has the sport at this juncture, we've missed a decade of what would have been the greatest rivalry ever. And even when you go back to that World Cup of Hockey in 2016, you had McDavid and Matthews and Gaudreau and all these guys on the same team that weren't even playing for their country. They were the young guys, which is kind of fun, but also really trinkety, right? Because you're not playing for your country, and it's like, why couldn't you put Sid with Connor? Like, it felt like, yeah, this will sell some tickets, we'll do it. Not, could you imagine the Soccer World Cup being like, oh, and this is Africa's U24 team? Like, no, it's idiotic. It was a trinkety thing. So I was saying, we got to get best back. We got to do it. And everyone I talked to was just panning it. Like, I don't care. But right from the anthem, Thursday night, Sweden, Mario Lemieux, and you're like, okay, this has got some juice. And when you saw that first two games, Wednesday and Thursday, I guess it was, Canada, Sweden, and then Finland, USA, you're like, these guys are playing. Like, this is not all-star effort level, and no one should have expected it would have been. It's guys going at it. And then you get to the Saturday, you're like, well, this is going to be unreal. Finland, Sweden's nice. That's a big Scandinavian rivalry. Neither team really in peak form. All the centers for Sweden having a tough year. Finland dinged up on the back end. Markstrom hurt for Sweden. It just wasn't a great time for either of these nations that are great hockey nations. And that one had some fight to it, but you knew it was going to be special. Add in the geopolitical stuff that's been going on between the two countries, people booing the anthems, and you're like, yeah, this is going to be electric. But even the people with the highest expectations for that game did not expect 3 fights in 9 seconds, both Tkachuk brothers in the box, moments in, and arguably the best game we've seen in the last decade of the sport, period, stop. It was insane. So I'm sitting with my 9-year-old boys. They're playing U11. I've got my Aussie grandmother with us. She leaves the room. She's upset they're fighting. My kids are fist pumping and screaming at the TV. I'm like, how did we go 11 years from Sochi in 2014 until today to finally get the best Americans on one team, the best Canadians on the other? Because this was magic.
Ryan Pinder's joining us from Barn Burner on the Western Pizza guest hotline. And I sat there, and as soon as the anthem booing started, and I knew they would, I'm like, all right, we're in. But you know what? We better win this hockey game because we've pushed our chips in as Canadians. Now, everybody is judging us Canadians by what the crowd is doing in Montreal. But then the first fight, okay, and then the second, and then the JT Miller, and I was like, okay, wow. And Curtis, do you want to put this up? Pinder, you'll like this. The only family I could come up that could potentially fight the Tkachuks, because they're ready to lay down and die for their country.
Sure.
Is this right? Yesterday was Family Day. Curtis, can you put up that picture? This is the only legit family I could find to fight the Tkachuks.
Well,
it's the Sutter brothers.
The 6 Sutters. I like their chances. I would have taken the Hart Foundation. I don't know how well they skate, though. But yeah, it's
I know. So
special.
if you were to tell Matthew and Brady that this doesn't mean anything, based on offspring alone, Keith Tkachuk should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I don't care what he did as a player, but just to see that. And then once the game started, I know he is. Once the game started, the Americans did everything to frustrate the Canadians. Outside of that McDavid goal, which was beautiful. Yeah. The Canadians just couldn't get anything going, and they just they took over and they played their style of game. And have you ever seen McDavid check that hard or hit that hard? He's not used to that.
Yeah, McAvoy caught him twice, and look, it wasn't the best game for the Canadians, and they've juggled the line since. I thought they looked a lot better against obviously a weaker opponent than Finland yesterday. But yeah, you can't give the Americans a lead, and if you're Jordan Binnington, you can't allow a game-tying goal to be a soft goal. And you know, you would talk about the second one, whether it was good or not, but to get it to be a second goal, you had to let in the soft one. And I'm not saying, hey, one goal they should have won, but clearly the Americans have an edge in net. They've got arguably the best goaltender of the last decade in the NHL. Maybe Vasilevsky's with him. Maybe you like Shesterkin. He's right there. He's up for the Vezina seemingly every year in Hellebuck. And they got a really mobile decor that defends well. That's a decor that can handle McDavid's speed as much as any decor could. Canada's offense was just okay, but there's a clear talent gap from the Americans in net to the Canadians. The Americans' 4th or 5th best netminders might be, Thatcher Demko if he's healthy. Maybe you like Dustin Wolf in Calgary, the rookie. They're far and away better than the best Canadian goaltender out there. I really hope they'd gone to Aiden Hill yesterday after that game. because I do think he's a little better than Binnington, but Cooper's planted his stake. This is his guy. He's going to go with Binnington. And so, all right, if he's your guy, you pretty much have to be flawless elsewhere. And that means don't give the Americans a lead. And that means, you do have to get Connor and, McKinnon, Crosby, all these guys going that we saw going against Finland on Monday and Sweden last week. But the Americans are a good team, man. I like the Canadians superstar level higher. But if you've got a goalie, I mean, the rest don't really matter. And I love the Americans' depth as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was no Cale McCarr for Saturday, but he will play. Yeah, no Charlie McAvoy. So to me, Saturday is the game that changed hockey for this generation because we hadn't seen anything like this, a game that everybody remembers since the 2010 Olympics. Now, I tried to feign interest yesterday watching those games, and I just couldn't because nothing was going to live up to Saturday. Now, I know all of us hope that Thursday will be that. I don't think we're seeing 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. We may not see a fight at all because I think it's really going to be on the line. I'm already a little nervous. I do have a funny feeling that if the Americans were to win, somehow, some way in the dressing room, that Matthew and Brady Tkachuk will both break out championship wrestling belts that they already probably have pre-made somewhere. But here's the thing. Every time they show in the dressing room afterwards, and they put the Gaudreau jersey on as the kind of the after game star kind of thing. I'm sorry, but that gets to me every time because it means something for those guys.
It does. And you look at a Calgary team and a Columbus team in the standings in the club season, the NHL season that have far exceeded expectations. That's a powerful thing. Now it's one night, it's one game. It is going to be another war. I don't expect it to be necessarily as entertaining a start as Saturday, but Saturday was about setting the tone because you knew you'd probably see each other again. Thursday's for all the marbles. Everyone has seen each other once. Get your lines how you want them. Figure out your game plan. And Matthew Tkachuk is not 100%. He's going to play, but don't expect him to be fully mobile. We had Frank Saravalli on our show this morning, and he noted that he watched Matthew walk from the Bell Center to the American bus. It was a very labored and not comfortable stroll for Matthew. I think Brady was a fully precautionary thing. It's like, look, this game means nothing. Let's get him out of here. And, I get that. That's a tough game for the Americans yesterday because there's literally nothing to gain and only things to lose, i.e. injuries. Now, they already were sitting guys. They rest Hellebuck. But Matthew's not 100%. And I wonder where Austin Matthews is at. I think Brady and Matthew are going to play. But the Canadians get McCarr back. And the Americans have a dinged-up version of Matthew Tkachuk. It's going to be a totally different game, but you'd have to think you got to move. If there's, the probabilities 1% or 2 towards Canada on what was probably close to a coin toss anyway.
So Barn Burner, the show that you guys do on YouTube and on X, and it's entertaining. If you've never checked it out before, it's part of the Flamesnation.com. The Calgary Flames this year, I think for a lot of people would be like, all right, you're in a bit of a, what does Eric Francis say? It's not a rebuild, it's a retool, or it's a hybrid, or
it's an R word. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah. So
it means you're not good, you're trying to get better.
Okay, so it would be really neat and tidy for Flames fans to be like, all right, let's just tank, have a bad season. We got rid of all those free agent guys that didn't want to be here, and we get a nice high draft pick, and then the rebuild is on. But in true Flames fashions, they have mucked it up, and now they're in the murky middle. And I've heard your thoughts on this. They're in the worst possible no man's land ever because they may screw themselves out of a top 10 draft pick if they barely make it into the playoffs. Are they buyers? Are they sellers? Break it down for Flames fans. What do you want to see happen here in these final 30 games?
Well, I think what you're looking at is a team that on paper is one of the bottom 5 to 10 teams in the league on talent. They're getting exceptional net mining. And they've got a really good coach in Ryan Huska and a team that plays really hard. You're talking about work ethic, structure, goaltending, right? And those 3 things on a lot of nights when you're seeing other teams' backups because they don't think you're good, like Winnipeg, they've played 3 times. They haven't seen Hellebuck yet. You can beat teams and you can surprise teams. And great goaltending, it sure covers a lot of warts. Dustin Wolf's been better than you could even have imagined for a guy that won goaltender of the year 4 years in a row. Western League, American League. we shouldn't be surprised he's dominating, but even compared to what expectations were, he's exceeded them this year. And it's kept them in a lot of games that, frankly, they don't have a lot of business being in. And so the challenge is you're quite old at the top of your roster. You've got a 34 and a 35-year-old centering your top two lines. That's Nazem Kadri and Michael Backlund. Your top two defensemen are Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar, late 20s or into their 30s. So as this young group of players that they've drafted and selected the last few years start to come up, those players become less effective, and you're really never going to be bad enough to bottom out and go draft a superstar. And you can see what that does with, all the teams that have cups. I mean, probably St. Louis and Vegas, the only teams that really weren't built with a core of guys drafted high, and Eichel was a one and was available for unusual circumstances. But you look at Tampa, you're like, okay, well, Stamkos 1, Hedman 3. You look at Colorado, you're like, oh, Makar, top 5 pick. Nathan McKinnon, first overall. You look at the Penguins, Crosby, Malkin, both first overall picks. Marc-Andre Fleury, very high pick. Chris Letang, high. Like, all these teams that are contenders to win cups and that do win cups, Florida with, Barkov, Ekblad, amongst others, their cores are top 5 picks. So if you want the Calgary Flames to win a cup, the easy line to draw is like, okay, we'll just be bad for a couple of years. The question is, can they be bad enough with these veterans and the structure and, more importantly, the goaltending? And to make matters even worse, if they don't finish with a top 10 pick at the end of the year, that pick goes to Montreal as part of the Sean Monahan deal. If they do have a top 10 pick, they get to keep it. And Florida's pick, which will likely be 29, 30, 31, 32, that will go to Montreal. That's a much more palatable deal for the Calgary Flames to send a late first to Montreal for eating Monahan's salary for a year versus maybe pick 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, which I would call peak sadness. You lose your first rounder. You don't make the playoffs. You're not any closer to finding your next superstar forward. And when you look at the Flames, that is what they're missing. They don't have a superstar. There's no one that you could write down and say, I guarantee they're going to get you 30 goals next year. I guarantee this defenseman is going to get you 50 points. Their best player is a rookie netminder. So they're really in a tough spot here. And I think how they approach Rasmus Andersson as they head towards the trade deadline is going to be really interesting. They've got a nightmare road trip coming up. Washington, Florida, Tampa, Carolina, Philadelphia, Dallas. 6 teams, 5 of them cup contenders. They are getting Zary and Ball back, who we saw at practice today. But if this team, right up to the deadline, doesn't play well on that trip, maybe you see them take a little more calls and listening on guys. And if they overachieve and play really well there, don't be surprised to see Craig Conroy add, because if you can get into the playoffs, A, the pick you're sending to Montreal gets later, and B, I mean, gosh, we thought there'd be no more playoff hockey ever again at the Saddle Dome. The new rink comes in 2027. It felt like we've seen our last playoff hockey game at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome. It would be an incredible story if they got in, albeit maybe just to get routed in round 1 by a Winnipeg, Edmonton, Dallas, or Vegas, right? Like, they're not going to stand up to those teams in a best of 7.
No. Everybody's so jazzed about the new rink they're going to build in Calgary, but I'll have to say, Dutton's in the Saddle Dome, sneaky, one of the best kind of crazy lounges ever, and they'll never be able to recreate that atmosphere. I don't care how new that building is. All right, you touched on something. Let's stay in the Western Division.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers, kind of in first play, they're doing all of that, and not that we're anointing them, because just because you went to the Cup final doesn't mean that you're going back. A lot has to happen, but if you're the Edmonton Oilers, who do you not want to play in this playoffs? First or second round? Like, who is your kryptonite in this Western division again?
Yeah,
okay,
so in division it's Vegas, because I think Vancouver is dinged up. If Calgary gets in, they're not good enough. I don't think LA, you've seen it 3 years in a row, they're just not there. Could you beat a team 4 years in a row in the playoffs? That would be crazy. It feels like one of them is going to go the other way, but oh no, it's the Kings against Edmonton. No, that's not happening. So Vegas beat them 2 years ago en route to Stanley Cup. Vegas has got a big bruising blue line. Vegas would have the edge in net minding. I think Hill over Skinner's fair at this point. Certainly Team Canada thinks so. But Vegas also, just because they're going to add, like, they just lost Shea Theodore. They're going to throw him on LTIR. Like, they're going to add another. They added Hurdle and Hanifin last year. They added Barbashev the year before. They added, star after star every trade deadline seemingly. And look, they really handed it to Edmonton, albeit a couple of years ago. But the Oilers will add pieces too. I think in division, that's the team that scares them. And when you look to the Central, it's a murderer's row. Like, Winnipeg's having the best regular season in the Western Conference by a mile. You see what Hellebuck does. You can see how deep they are. And on top of that, it's like, geez, Colorado What do they do? They've opened up some cap space with the Natchez for Rantanen trade. Are they going to address the second line center? If they do, that's a tough out. That's the team that beat them 3 years ago on the way to the Stanley Cup that beat the Oilers. Dallas, to me, has a lot of room for improvement. When I look at the Oilers, there's not a lot of impact players in their mid-20s. You know, McDavid and Draisaitl and Podkolzin are the three centers, are the three forwards in their 20s. Everyone else is ancient. So, like, are you expecting a 32-year-old to play well in April, May, June versus a guy that's coming into his prime? And Dallas has got a lot of those. You know, your Rope Hintz, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, Logan Stankoven, like on and on and on the list goes. They've got some good young players that year over year will be better, that learned from last year's exit against the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Final. There's going to be a lot of good teams, but none of them will have a 1-2 punch like McDavid Draisaitl. So, you know, it's the last year that economically they're in a good spot. The raises for Draisaitl and a theoretical Bouchard deal with Arbrights, that's going to more than outstrip the cap gains that you're going to see. Like Draisaitl goes from 8.5 to 14. Bouchard's going to jump into a 7-digit annual salary, probably, or 8, I should say. Like he's a $10 million defenseman if he's put up 1.5 points in the playoffs per game. It's going to get harder financially. And then the year after that, McDavid's going to jump from 12.5 to 18 to 20 or something, because the cap continues to go up. And we see the projections of where the cap's going to be if he signs a long-term deal. 20% is a max salary. We've never seen it. If there's one player on earth that's worth a max salary, it's Connor McDavid. So they absolutely could win, but this year is interesting because Connor's eligible to be extended this summer. He's going to look around and say, where are we at? They don't have a lot of prospects coming. They got this Matt Savoy, who they picked up in the Ryan McLeod trade with Buffalo. He's a 5'9" forward that better defensively than offensively at Bakersfield in the A. Like it's a poor system. They don't have young players in their 20s as a result of the offer sheets. They didn't match. And the guys they already have are only getting more expensive moving forward when you talk about Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid if he stays. So it does feel like this is their best chance, as odd as that is to say.
We'll wrap on this. Coming out of the East, who are the two teams that you think have a legit shot to make it through to the Eastern Final?
Well, I mean, you can't watch what Florida's done for the last 2 years and think they don't have a chance. If anyone understands what it takes, it's Florida. And we'll see what kind of shape Matthew Tkachuk's in when he gets back. But they'll add. And I don't know. Washington's a great story. I'm not really sold on them. Carolina, I'm curious because we haven't seen Rantanen fitting in yet. The Devils are sneaky, lying around in the weeds, and Markstrom will return to health. There's a lot of good teams. And if we get a Toronto, Ottawa in round one and a Tampa, Florida in round one, and, you know, the Rangers and Devils somehow, like, I'm ready for the East. It's going to be an absolute blast. You're talking about great rivalries potentially across the board in round one.
Could you imagine Brady Tkachuk terrorizing Mitch Marner? Just telling him every time I crush you, it's $1 million off your deal. I am going to wipe you. You're going to be making 5-5 maybe by the time I'm done with you. And that's what I said in the first hour of the show. It's a shame if Matthew Tkachuk or Brady Tkachuk never ever gets a chance to showcase in the playoffs because he's trapped on such a god-awful team in Ottawa to never see that level of talent play in the playoffs.
Like, Ullmark is key. He's a guy that if he's got a broken nail, he won't play. Like, he's very, very picky about full health and playing. But if Ullmark's right, there's just so much talent there now. They're deep down the middle. Stützle is an absolute star in the making. They've got a better blue line. Sanderson's phenomenal, as you've seen at the Four Nations with the U.S. Like, I think it's the year for Ottawa. I know it's a nice story with Columbus. Detroit's been really hot. Rangers are probably going to get their S together because, you know, they had a much better January than December, and they've cleared out some of those issues that plagued them before Christmas. But I think it's Ottawa's year they get in. And if they get Toronto, even better. We'll tune in every other night. It's going to be awesome.
Listen, we made it all the way through an NHL interview without talking about JT Miller or Elias Pettersson, so I think this is a victory. We'll wrap on this. Ryan Pinder's on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. His show, Barn Burner, he does with Boomer and Rhett Warner. And I think I heard on the show on Friday, Rhett made a proclamation saying that AI is coming. That AI is coming, and we need to be prepared for it. And then the AC/DC or something, a hologram AC/DC is going to be on stage, and would you go to see it? And I was like, he's Nostradamus. I liked it. And yes, I would go see an AI AC/DC if in like a mid-90s AC/DC.
Yes,
like I'm not talking
prime.
like the
Yes.
2000s. Yeah, in their prime.
That's what you want to see. And you can even AI yourself into a small venue, not a 80,000 seat venue with 80-year-old guitarists at BC Place or whatever. The real challenge is, I think AI can do this. How are the record labels and their lawyers going to agree to the fees on this, the name and likeness? I feel like we're just opening the can of worms, but I think Rhett's right. AI can already do more than we imagine.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've learned anything, AI is coming. Some people would say AI actually is already here and doing a lot. Ryan, thank you for this. Let's do this again. For all your Sasky relatives, maybe you haven't caught up with lately, they'll be like, I think that was my nephew on the radio, but I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him in years. We appreciate it. Have a great show tomorrow. It's Ryan Pinder from Barnburner on the Sportscage. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League report with Benny Walchuk. We'll get his take on the big news from earlier today. The Notre Dame Hounds are moving. They're being relocated from Wilcox. They're going to be in Warman next year to play in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We'll do that next on the all-new Sportscage right here on 620 CKRM.
Been there, done that. We get it. And we've got something great for you. The Great Bin Giveaway on 620 CKRM. We're giving you the chance to win a 100-ton fertilizer bin from Core Grain. All you have to do is be listening to find out which sponsor locations you can enter at, all across southern Saskatchewan. You'll also have some chances to qualify during Saskag Today with Ryan Young. The grand prize draw will take place at Ag in Motion this July. Don't miss out on your chance to have a shot at the Great Bin Giveaway on 620 CKRM.
Affordable Trailer Sales is having their outdoor celebration February 13th to 23rd. Get incredible prices on new and used travel trailers. New 2025 travel trailers starting as low as $22,900 or $105 bi-weekly. Below cost on leftover models. Trades are welcome and get free storage until spring. Plus, get a free backup camera system and annual provincial park pass with every new unit purchased. Over a $1,000 value. Affordable Trailer Sales, Highway 1 West, South Service Road. AffordableTrailersales.ca.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
CoolBet has all the hot games. For all the free-to-play casino games, head to coolbet.co. They've got sports odds, including Saskatchewan senior hockey, plus all the sports odds you can think of. From the ice to the field to the court, CoolBet has you covered. All at your fingertips. No risk, just thrill. So why wait? Get in the game and embrace the unexpected at coolbet.co.
Time now for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League report on the all-new Sportscage. The SJHL report is brought to you by Southie Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive, every time. Guaranteed.
Well, he's getting ready to call the game between L'Orange tonight in Yorkton. It's Benny Walchuk, the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League report. It's Maz here. Of course, the big news of the day, and it's got hockey fans talking everywhere, not only in Saskatchewan, but across Canada and North America, because the alumni stretches far and wide. Your initial reaction when it was announced that the Notre Dame Junior A Hounds would be moving from Wilcox to Warman to play next year in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League?
It's something I've heard about the last month or so. We've got rumblings around there. I didn't think it would happen this quick, and the announcement would happen so soon. I thought maybe later after the season, the off season a little bit, but they wanted to kind of get the foot running here in the city of Warman. But it's, like I said, I know you've heard Kyle earlier. Word is bittersweet. Notre Dame has tradition in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for almost 40 years. They've had some great players come in. They've had some great runs with the 1988 championship team. Of course, they had a run to the SJHL final back in 2015 as well. So it's a place that I'm gonna kind of missed going a little bit. I know the crowds weren't as good the last number of years, but I liked walking around the rink. It's storied history there at the Duncan McNeil Arena. So it's tough news for the Hounds, especially some guys that grew up in the area, played in that Hounds program, played junior hockey. But on the other side, saying it, Warman is a great place. It's kind of maybe the hockey hotbed that the SJHL has been trying to get to in the last number of years. They've had the showcase there for 5 or 6 years, and it's kind of, they try to get some fans interested in the game, and they finally have, hopefully here with the final approval coming up in June, but it looks like it's going to become a reality. So it's going to be great to go into a community like Warman, a great fan base, a great young community, and a progressive community, and we'll see how it works out with Notre Dame Hounds. But like you said, bittersweet day.
Yeah, you mentioned when you go into the Duncan McNeil Arena, it's hard not to be overcome when you see all the pictures on the wall and all the history that has come before you. That, as far as, and most hockey players, you're a bit of a hockey nerd and geek. I mean, that's pretty safe to say. You're into the game, so when you see that, and it's not that hockey can't succeed in other places, but once the shock kind of wears off, and I know it hasn't been a great season for the Hounds this year, but for those players, I think that maybe this, because they're going to be the last team to ever play Notre Dame for the junior, that may bond them together, probably something, because they're the end of an era of a hockey legacy that will never, ever be touched. You see all these prep schools now, Benny, or all of these things. They'll get one kid that gets drafted to somewhere, to some Division IV college, and that kid is front and center on the website. Like, hey, if you send your kid here, we'll do this. Where you walk in to be like Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup finalist, NHL legend referee. You just, the list goes on and on. So I can only imagine, and I know that you guys are a tight-knit group in the SJ, not only the players, but the coaches and the play-by-play guys. So now that it's official and it's out there, it'll be different. And a lot of people, and as a casual fan, and I would consider myself that, I always wondered, well, why is there not a team in Regina? Why is there not a team in Saskatoon? Well, there was a team in Saskatoon for a little bit, and we can't forget that. So this kind of alleviates that if they're moving to Warman. Kyle said that the facility is world-class. It's very nice. What are your thoughts on what the Hounds are moving to in Warman as far as facilities go?
Yeah, you mentioned the program. Of course, it's the junior program. They're still going to try to get the Athol Murray College in Notre Dame and the sports school kind of rejuvenized. Like when I played minor hockey against Notre Dame, we had the Jaden Schwartzes, Brandon Gormley. We had 5 or 6 first-round NHL picks or second-round picks that we played against. So you can kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit with how the program's going. But the Hounds are going to a great community. Like you said, progressive community. It's growing in probably the fastest-growing city in Saskatchewan. It's a newer community. And the building, like you said, I've been have a chance to broadcast at a few SJHL showcases. It's top-notch. They got that the court facility where they play volleyball, and they have cheer and all indoor soccer. They have the great ice arena, and like you said, they have 11 or 1,200 seats plus standing room plus that. So it's a modern facility. It's the biggest thing is trying to get fans to the arena. They're going to have that corporate partnership, which I shouldn't be too hard to get in that community like Warman, and just trying to get fans in the building. It might take a little bit, but I think the first bit here, I think fans will come out and talk about it's the minor hockey program in Warman, in Martinsville, in that area, in the Clavette area, Saskatoon area. It's growing and growing. It's one of the biggest ones in the province. So I think their talent is going to be pretty local. I think they're going to centralize localish, and it's going to be a pretty hotbed. And also we talk about scouts getting to games, and it's hard for a scout to go from Saskatoon and drive up to 4 hours to L'Orange. You go to Saskatoon, it's an international airport. You fly into Saskatoon and make a short trek to Warman, which is 10-minute drive. So it's going to be easy accessible for that way. So I think they're going to do well. They're going to have to see what the list is for Notre Dame Hounds. I know some players that played last year will probably not be on the roster coming up next year if it's all approved. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a jugglement for that hockey operations staff to put a team together and get all the pieces together. But that's what makes the fun of it. I think the general manager the first year is going to have some fun putting that roster together. But I think it's going to be a great move for not only the organization, but also the league in general too.
It's the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League report for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Benny Walchuk is with us, getting ready to call the game. There were 2 games in the SJ yesterday. Estevan at Weyburn, Liam Fitzgerald had a goal and an assist. The Red Wings beat the Bruins 6-3. And Carter Brilt scored the shootout winner as the Yorkton Terriers beat the Humboldt Broncos 5-4. How big was that win yesterday?
It was really big. This team has gone through a lot. I know from dating back to the forfeitures, we lost 3 games due to the ineligible player, and they've had some injuries throughout the season. They're still battling through some injuries here right now, but they've also had some players. Their 2 top scorers elected to go to the BCHL just a couple of weeks back. And just talking to Emery on the pregame show, my pregame comments, they're great players. They're tough to lose those guys because they definitely very helped the Ontario organization, but it's allowing some of these players to take bigger roles. You got Jai Zawatsky, you got Vinny Junik, a local product. You got David Coyle and Jaron Denwye who've taken the next step here. So they've kind of took the bull by the horns and run with it right now, and they're getting opportunities. So it's been a big win for Yorkton. They're trying to, because they had the Viterra division lead. They had a little bit of a slump, and Weyburn got onto a big run to take it over, and now they're battling for it right now because that's 3rd and 4th. That's still positioning. You're still opponents maybe in round number 1 and home ice advantage because this Weyburn Yorkton team, I know there's only 9 or 10 games left, but you got the Humboldts, you got Balvilles right on their heels right now. So if they get a little bit of slide here in the next week or two, either of those teams right behind them will be very, very, very glad to climb that home ice in round 1 of the SJHL playoffs. And then I know there's some head-to-head matchups here with Yorkton and Balville too. So it's a big win for this organization. Terriers have been through a lot. They've been through a lot of road games here in the second half, and they have like 6 straight home games here in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a busy week. But it's this Terrier team is rolling at the right time. Maybe one thing to clean up is the defensive play. They've allowed 4 or more goals the last 3 games, so that's not the recipe to success. They're getting the job done right now, but going forward, they have to try to keep those goals against down.
It's a good thing you said his name because I wouldn't have said Jaron Denwye. I would have said something different. So thanks for helping a brother out here. Leading scorer in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, 64 points, 27 goals, and 37 assists. Just 1 of 2 games tonight. Melfort's at the Battlefords. They're rolling. Larange is in town. The Ice Wolves. Now, on paper, it should be a win, but there's a reason why they play the games. So on GX94, our sister station in Yorkton, what time is the pregame show? What time are we get rolling with a face-off? We'll get you out of here and let you get back to the media room.
6:50 pregame show, 7 o'clock puck drop here at the Westland Insurance Arena. But you just mentioned Laurent Ice Wolves. You know Kevin Killer Kaminsky, former Saskatoon Blade. They're gonna have a lot of fans here. He's from nearby Churchbridge. They have a great turnout from the local community that comes out and supports them on this 4-game road trip. That they'll be in Notre Dame as well as Melville on Friday. So it should be a good test. And they always bring their A game here when they play here in East Central Saskatchewan. So it's gonna be a tough out. They're gonna be hard-nosed affair, and this might be what the Terriers need here to play a team like the Laurent Ice Wolves to play that hard-nosed style to kind of punch them in the mouth a little bit here, especially getting close to playoff time.
I remember seeing their bus outside of the Ramada in downtown Regina. I'm like, geez, even the bus looks mean. It's reflecting their coach. It had like a hole in the bumper and it was a little dirty on the front. And I'm like, wow, this is a Kevin Kaminsky type bus situation. Before we let you go, I haven't been in a media room in a hockey rink in a while. What's the setup in Yorkton? Are we coffee, water these days? Are there still donuts? Are there gluten-free options? I know people's diets have changed. Can you even give donuts in 2025? Are we granola bars? Like, what's the situation in Yorkton?
You usually give me a bottle of water. I usually just go to the Terriers coach's office. That's what I call the media room right now. So they got kind of give me a coffee and maybe some fruit and veggies there before the game. But that's junior A hockey is not as spectacular for media rooms in the league. There, they don't treat us maybe as good as the Western High. I've saw some posts on social media about Western Hockey having pizza and buffets. So maybe it's something at the next annual general meeting or board of governors meeting that the SJHL commissioner can maybe treat our broadcast a little bit more. Maybe mandatory media rooms and food before the game. That'd be nice.
Should I call Kyle McIntyre back and say, listen, I don't care what you're doing. I know it's a busy day, but Benny and I just talked about I'm going to need 3 different types of pizza in the media room, donuts going forward, and this better be ready for game 1, round 1 of the playoffs, or we're all walking out.
Yeah, I'll talk about playoffs. I can see the rambling here around Ice Wolves. But yeah, playoffs are even warm. And if you're listening right now for next year, that'd be get into Benny's good books if you have that nice media room for sure.
All right, Benny, have a great call. All right, we'll let you get to it. It's the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League report right here on the Sportscage on 620 CKRM. It's brought to you by Southie Mainline Chrysler. Just a second. Where's all my stuff here? I got to get this going here. Southie Mainline Chrysler, it's worth the drive, guaranteed every time. They're unleashing the heat this February, and boy, could we use it. At Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina, you can get into a brand new Ram truck for just $49,995 or a new Jeep Compass for as low as $38,686. You can get 0% financing on Jeep Grand Cherokees. Call 306-726-2060 or visit SouthieMainline.ca. Southie Mainline Chrysler is worth the drive. Every time, guaranteed. When we take a break, we'll come back. It's been a busy day at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts in Thunder Bay. How is Saskatchewan's Martin Rink doing? We'll check in next. It's the all-new Sportscage, streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Your Saskatchewan Co-op Ag teams are your trusted partners to support your entire farm operation. And we're giving back to our community. Since 2017, Co-op has invested $468 million in Saskatchewan through building, upgrading, and expanding local facilities. And we've returned $418 million to Co-op members. Co-op, we're building something for the future. Here for your farm, here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
Get ready for winter, all winter long, with Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. A new Bryant furnace can keep your whole home warm. And right now, you can finance your Bryant furnace with Bronco for a special rate of 4.99%. And don't start paying for 6 months. Plus, don't forget about available rebates on qualifying furnaces. Be ready for winter with Bryant at Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. BroncoPlumbing.com. Bronco and Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It's time to turn up the heat on trades at Crestview. For a limited time, get a $2,500 trade-in bonus on any trade-in. We're going to work to get you the same or similar payment to what you got right now. And we got something for everybody. Over 200 brand new vehicles, Jeeps, Rams, Caravans, and so much more. Plus, Capital's 100K giveaway is back in Crestview. Check out capital100k.ca for your chance to win. We're turning up the heat on trades at Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Get your equipment out of the rain and snow and under the roof of a new storage building from Olympic Buildings. Have a warm, dry place to work and keep everything out of the cold. Olympic Buildings. Buildings to meet your budget. Visit olympic-buildings.ca.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. They've got everything you need for your projects. 600 Albert Street. PrairieLandRental.com.
The all-new Sportscage. Watch our live stream at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
It's game day for the Regina Pat Canadians taking on Tisdale, the Trojans. Cooperators 6 at 7 o'clock tonight. You may want to dress warm and let the vehicle idle while the game's on for 3 hours because it's freezing cold. That's just one of 2 games tonight in the Saskatchewan Midget AAA Loop. The Contacts are in Notre Dame to play the Hounds. It was announced earlier today, Ryan Keller, Sasky guy named head coach and GM of the Contacts. He'll be taking over starting next season. Prairie Junior Hockey League. The Regina Silver Foxes in Assiniboia tonight to take on the Southern Rebels. 7:45 face-off at the Southland Co-op Arena. Scotties Tournament of Hearts. I know a lot of people have been glued to curling in Thunder Bay when they haven't been watching hockey. Team Saskatchewan and Skip Nancy Martin. We started out hot. We were 3-1, then 3-2, and then now we sit 3-3. Yesterday, we beat New Brunswick 7-5. Then we lost to Team Canada and Rachel Holman 9-6. And then today, we lose to Alberta 10-5. Tomorrow, rest up, ladies. It's a busy day. Taking on Nunavut in the morning, and then Alberta 2 in the late draw. Double C's, Curtis and Coulson. Could you guys provide an explanation as to why some provinces get 2 teams in the Brier and we only get 1? Either of you.
Are you referring to like the Northern Ontario and Ontario thing, or like the 3 Manitoba teams? Because
there's just like I said, there's 3 Manitoba teams. There's 2 from Alberta. Listen, we need to win either the Brier or the Scotties. All right. So if we could get 4 to 5 Saskatchewan teams in somehow, tell us. Let's do that. Let's get on.
My understanding of it is there's the ranking system, and whichever team's the best in the province gets in, right? and then there's like 3 wild card slots. So the next 3 best teams that didn't make it in their province get in. That's my understanding of it. Because I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, Team Canada was Manitoba with like Jennifer Jones or somebody, and then there was the Manitoba team, and then all 3 wildcard teams were Manitoba. So there was 5 Manitoba teams in the one tournament, and I was like, this seems a little ridiculous. I feel like you should maybe put a caveat in it where it's like you can have a maximum of 3 teams for your province, but I don't know. I understand why, because you want to have the best teams there, the best rinks there. But yeah, getting to 4 or 5 seems a little excessive.
Now, keep in mind, and I'm used to it, we live in Saskatchewan. Things sometimes aren't stacked in our favor. If there was 8 teams from Ontario, because it's Ontario, that's the center of the universe, I totally get it. But 5 teams from Manitoba, that seems excessive. All right? And here's the other thing, too, and I've mentioned this on the show. My mother-in-law, not a huge fan of Rachel Homan. I'm like, why do you got to hate? She's good at what she does, and all she does is win. And now the cherry on top this year, which really has her fit to be tied when we were there this weekend, with Jennifer Jones, who used to be the Darth Vader in her world of curling, is now Rachel Homan's coach. And I'm like, wow, this is getting even more entertaining every second we go. So there's more and more to this plot line. We're 3-3. A lot of games left with the Page playoff system. I think we're in a good spot. At times, Canada or Saskatchewan has played so well. And then there's just been, as always, you get to this level, it's 1 or 2 ends and it's 1 or 2 rocks that make the difference. Do we have that Brent Sopel video ready to go? Curtis? The rant about the anthem? And is it edited? Do we have it bleeped out? Because I don't need the smoke. Okay, good. So a lot of people have had a lot to say since Saturday's game against Canada taking on the States. Obviously, it's dominated social media. It's everywhere. It's interesting to hear from players. Brent Sopel played a long time in the NHL. He's a former Saskatoon Blade and a former Swift Current Bronco. And he played in the KHL, which I would love to ask him about, because anybody that plays in the Russian league, we've all heard the stories. So this is Brent Sopel's take on the game Saturday and the anthem.
Top of the morning. Quick little hockey talk here. Get ready for Thursday night. 4 Nations, God's country against the US of A. Going to be a good one. Been some good hockey. Great start, 9 seconds into the game. So for all you folks out there who think that fighting shouldn't be part of the game, yeah. Bite me. Looking forward to it. God's country against US of A. Should be a lot of fun. It's been a great tournament so far. And anybody who boos another country's anthem, like, you know, the Canadians booing the American anthem, guys. Canadians don't boo Americans. Stand proud for your own country. Don't make the game political. Here we go. Giddy up!
So that's former Western Hockey Leaguer. He was a Blade, he was a Bronco. That's Brent Sopel. I like his take. There's enough other places you can get political. There's no shortage of that in the world we live in today. Just let's leave the sports to sports.
We're not going to disagree with you on that one. I don't know why you're looking to us for that.
No, I would love to see either of you. None of us would disagree with a Brent Sopel if we met him face to face to be like, no, we're good. Yeah, no, we're good. I love the take. And it looks like he still has if you were watching the stream, looks like he's still got the flow going that's peeking out of the side of the toque. He looks like he could still handle himself if he needed to. Off an opening face-off, I still think Brent Sopel, even though he's retired, could probably handle himself if things got nasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the videos, we'll try and get it tomorrow. It's not from lack of trying on this side. So the Philadelphia Eagles had their Super Bowl parade on Friday. And general manager Howie Roseman, who was riding on one of the buses, one of the floats, the open air buses. Oh, here it is right here. He got hit in the head with a beer can. And it didn't take him out.
Trying.
You guys like that? And he powers through and gave a speech at the rally at the end of it. Now, I don't know, Colson, Curtis, have either of you ever been hit in the head with a full beer? That's gotta hurt.
I can't say I have. I don't think I want to know either. It's one of those things where getting hit with any kind of like full beverage can, I'm sure that would leave a nice gouge and wouldn't feel too good. So
there he is right there. Look at that. It's like a half a beer can ring on his forehead as he's smoking a cigar. Do you think at that point? Now, here's the thing: if you're drunk already or got a good buzz going, getting dinged, maybe not so much. But if that's your first drink of the day, then that's gonna hurt all day long. We'll wrap on this. T. Higgins probably going to get franchise tag from the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, that's a wrap on the Sports Cage today. If you missed any part of the show, you can catch up on the podcast. We had Ryan Pinder, we had Kyle McIntyre, we had Arash Madani. You can grab those at sportscage.com. Tomorrow on the show, 3:30 with Corey Mace, 5 o'clock Double Talk with Darian Brandt. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Sports Cage right here on 620 CKRM.
My record-breaking Eras tour is wrapped. I think it's time to start my eyewear era. Could use a new pair.
You're in luck, Tay. Future Vision's in their 2-for-1 eyewear sale era. Right now, we can get the latest, hottest styles at a great price and get the second pair free. Let's head back